have something special for you today. A new Resident Evil showcase. We'll have Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Village Gold Edition, and more on the menu. Looking forward to seeing you.
Ada, who are you? What are you doing here?
My faithful disciple will show her the path.
Ashley, run!
The entire world shall overflow with these grains.
What's happening to me?
Now, abandon your body.
Leave the girl. She's lost no matter what.
Now that he has chosen death.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
And it is pressed. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. We just had a nice and spicy event of the Resident Evil showcase. It was sexy. It was hot. You know, she had curves and everything. It was nice. So I'm your host, Renegade Operative, and I like to introduce my panelists here. And first we have Brandon.
Hi, I exist again. Thank you for having me here.
All right. We Mr. Ghost Brandon in the background. I'm kidding.
Yes.
But next we have Token.
Buddy, I'm super excited to be back doing more Resident Evil, especially Resident Evil 4. Super excited to talk about it, and so let's go.
Next up we have Lanos.
I am super excited to be back, and that trailer, amongst many other things they showed, was very, very exciting. So I'm ready to jump into this.
Austin, it is your turn, buddy.
Hello, it's me. It's been a little bit, but I'm back, and I'm ready to talk about some Resident Evil.
Silver, introduce yourself.
Not a problem. Hey there guys, Silver, back again. Still slapping down the boner after the showcase, so bear with me. It's gonna be good.
Oh god,
the showcase discussion, not the boner.
We talked about boners on Twitter. That trailer made me come. Next up is Hollow Heart.
Hey everyone, I'm really excited to be here again for another Resident Evil podcast.
All right, and I'm just going to go down the list as usual. Everyone will get their say uninterrupted on each question, and then we just move on to the next one after we're all wrapped up. So the first question is talking about the general gameplay they showed for Resident Evil 4 Remake. I think that was the main attraction. That's the entire extended session that was like 5 or 6 minutes, maybe a little bit more if you saw it on other outlets. All right, Hollow Heart, it is your turn. What do you think of the general gameplay?
I was really excited when I saw it. I said this a couple times, I think yesterday, and I'll say it again, but it definitely made me feel nostalgic of when Resident Evil 4 was first coming out. So I'm very excited to see what they've done with the remake and what treat they're gonna bring us.
Hassan? Brandon, that's your cue.
Yeah, you get my name straight. I'm just kidding. Yeah, honestly, the words can describe how hyped I was, because I'm not a avid Resident Evil 4 fan, like a lot of people are though. But like this showcase just blew me away. Like so many new mechanics that we never gotten or had in a while is outstanding. Like Capcom really blew out on part of the showcase.
All right, Ada Hater, Lady Token, it's time for...
You fuck right off there, good sir.
It is your turn.
General opinion on the gameplay presentation. I think it was bomb. Like, the previews we got before yesterday were good, but then adding in what we got to see yesterday from the showcase just made it even better. Like, I was practically jumping around in my chair, and I think I watched it a couple times. Like, it was presented so good, and like Austin said, it just makes you hungry for more. Like, I cannot wait for the next 5 months to just zoom by so I can finally play this game. I've been a fan of the fourth one for a long time. So I'm really curious to see how the remake goes, but I think it's going to just blow expectations out of the water.
Lanos, I'm going to pass the baton to you.
All right. Like Brandon, I am not the biggest RE4 fan, but this presentation really kind of like sold me because before we had the previews and it looked a little bit more like darker. It had a little bit more of the horror elements, but really into this showcase as they were showing that extended gameplay. One, we got to see all of the different nifty little tricks that they're bringing into it, which are really nice, like the parry system, stealth, as has been mentioned before, but also the environment. It's just so much more sinister. It's darker, and the mechanics are so much more fluid. You can feel the modernization on this gameplay in comparison to what it was. And some people want to say it's just like a little bit of an upgrade, but it isn't. It is a lot added to that. And if you really, as someone who wasn't a fan of it, I can see the changes, and they are very good changes. So I'm really excited to see how it's really going to play out. And there's some parts that I'm waiting to see. It was also really funny to see that they're still putting the humor in. So Leon is still the action star quipper. But yeah, I'm excited about it. They had a really good showcase for this, and it was strong.
Next up is Silver.
Dude, dude, like everybody here, like, dude. Okay, I'm impressed. I'm very impressed, and not only that, I was one of those people of the firm belief that Resident Evil 4, despite its age, didn't need to be modernized. I actually fumbled. I stand corrected. And Capcom, from what we've seen with the new additions, all the stuff that's there, and all the stuff that was there before that they've like still put in, like you've still got your QTEs, you've now got a counter and parry system, as was mentioned, which is excellent. Just like, it's very good, and I think this is going to be very promising, and trying to contain the excitement actually, because yes, many good things, and I stand corrected. This game is going to be really good now that it's been modernized with a fresh coat of paint and new mechanics. The tonal shift, the darker side of things, yes, more of that. More of that, please. But yeah, there you go.
All right, it's my turn, and since Deva got here, I'm gonna let him go last. We're on question number 1. That's like talking about like just the general thoughts of the gameplay. But just to go real quick, I don't think there's any other way I could put this outside of just going full hog and saying I would suck the teeth of this game. I watched every interview, every singular thing that they said, and the one thing that they said in this entire experience is we don't want to change RE4 way too much. That's not our intention. Our intention is to bring elements in, but we want to see how we can make them better and fit in the scope of the narrative with 2023. And I think that's what they're doing with this game. It's obviously a lot darker, as people have said. There's cool stealth mechanics, which I noticed, and they said you can sneak up behind that guy and stab him. So it's like a good mix of like Evil Within and Last of Us, and they're trying to put this in a giant amalgamation, and it just works. It works for what they're trying to go for, what they're trying to do. And I saw Leon doing his classic actions, so you don't feel like super defenseless or hopeless in the situation. You can actually fight back, and there's hordes of these people coming, which we're going to talk about later. And I just loved every singular piece of what they showed me here. I think it's great gameplay, great presentation. The combat, it's really push and pull. Like either you're fighting against them and you're doing a good job, or you're being overwhelmed. So I really like that sort of fear of the hordes coming in and trying to kill you as soon as possible. It's just so much good that we're going to talk about in a bit, but I'm going to let Deva take the next turn and see what he feels about the gameplay.
How's it going, guys? Sorry I'm a bit late, but so I don't know. I haven't heard what you guys' first topics, like what you guys said, but from the initial presentation, everything that I've seen so far, all I gotta say is, man, this game looks absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love the way the overall aesthetic was going. Like each character that was portrayed, it was more than I could have asked for. Um, and also the extended gameplay, like just seeing how Leon could fight against the Ganados and like how that interacts. And you also mentioned that uh they don't really want to stray away from the actual like source material, kind of like they want to keep it the core the same, right? But what I can see, like all the little added features really like spices up the game a little bit. Like for example, there was a moment where like Leon was crouching. I don't know if that was mentioned already, but he was crouching, and then it kind of gave like the Last of Us feel. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but like if that's a mechanic that we could use to kind of like save up ammo, I mean, great. That's it really builds up more tension because now like we can't just like gung ho and just like blast our way through like hordes of monsters, but instead like what if there's just too many of them, or like one of them is like what if like they're kind of like a Mr. X kind of like enemy where they can't like die or anything, or maybe they'll just be unconscious for a little bit. So the only thing we can do is just kind of sneak around them. But besides that, I mean, like I said, I love the overall look of the game. I love each character, especially I'm really impressed with the way like they made Salazar look. Like, I know he kind of looks a little bit like an older man kind of look, but I know in the original he was like, what, 20 years old? But this time around, I mean, he looks freaky, he looks amazing, and I just can't wait.
I am here. I was muted. But I think we're all done with this question, so we're gonna move on to question number 2. How do you feel about the idea that Leon now has a parry mechanic and you can literally like parry your knife with a lot of attacks that the Ganados do in the game? How do you feel about that? I'm gonna yeah, you can go first and then I'll pass the baton to everyone else.
Honestly, I was not expecting them to improve the knife mechanics this much because, like, generally speaking, the knife is just stab enemy on ground, or maybe it has a self defense option if since they brought that back, of course, right? But the fact that it gives the option to parry certain things is just honestly is a nice way to give the knife more agency instead of just the usual bread and butter for it in the series. This one thing that I want to point out though, like the one mechanic that stood to me the most though was the fact that you can break out of enemy grabs and or use the knife to get the enemy off you faster. I think that's a welcome addition because I was complaining about that with say Resident Evil 3. I wish it gives the option to do both breakout and knife. So happy about that.
Also, just to clarify, I guess that extra little bit of information in chat. Yes, you can use the knife as a normal weapon because I saw it in the inventory. So yeah, you can pull it out whenever.
I hope it's like how the Revelations games does it, where you can just like press the a particular button, like the melee button or whatever, and you just knife instead of just like aiming it like in other games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, personally, I prefer that over the usual way. It feels more effective, if you ask me.
All right, but in the meantime, I guess while we wait, I'm going to let Tolkien go on this and see if we can go back to Austin.
So the parry, I think, is a really good idea. I'm really glad to see that it's being brought into this game. It pretty much gives you more options besides just running or shooting, using other weapons. It pretty much gives you the choice of, should I parry this and do damage to my knife or even break it, or do I risk taking this hit and getting damage but keeping my weapon intact and not broken? It gives you different options, which I think is a really awesome idea. So I'm really excited to see how it plays into the game.
Austin, are you alive? Earth to Austin. Well, I will move on to the next person then.
How do I sound now?
You sound fine. You sound fine.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. A little bit of a tech issue. Hopefully it doesn't happen again.
You can continue on your last point of the knife parry.
Alrighty, so sorry about that. Sorry about that, folks. Going back to what I was saying, yeah, I think the knife parry is really cool. I think being able to block and defend with a knife seems logical, and Leon being a Secret Service agent who has specialized training, he should be able to do it. Like, he should be able to defend himself with a knife only and still kick ass without even a gun, because it's shown in many forms of media that Leon is a monster with a knife at certain times. He's able to throw it at great distances with deadly accuracy. He's able to battle Krauser with a fucking knife and do pretty well with it. Even when Krauser has like 10 times the normal strength because of the Plaga. And the fact that you can now stab somebody in the head when they're down to like instantly kill them or do a significant amount of damage. I wonder if the knife can deal with some parasites. I think the knife having its own parry system and basically expanding upon what was in Resident Evil 2, 3, and Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 Remake, and that you can either use it normally, you can use it to defend yourself, and the fact that it has its own stat block for the merchant makes it all the worthwhile that maybe the knife is probably one of the more important items in the entire game other than your handgun. So I'm very excited, and I can't wait to see what you can do with the knife later on in the game, if there is any more. But yeah.
Hollow Heart, it is your turn. What do you think of the amazing knife?
So I think the pairing is amazing. I think it's a great addition into the game, and I think the knife degrading and breaking over time, like if you do this or if you use it, whatever, is also another great feature because, like Lady Tolkien said, it makes you think a little bit more before just going off and running in. I know, like in the past, a lot of times we've been able to, like with the Resident Evil games, rely on the knife as a backup to like the gun and kind of like knife things. But like now you have a lot more decisions concerning the knife to think about. Like, am I going to just run through and knife these people? Am I going to parry in this spot? Like, what decision am I going to make at each part? And I really like that because it takes the puzzle from just being a puzzle game in like, you know, find the clock thing and this and that, but to being a puzzle in just your combative skills.
Deva, it's your turn. What do you think of the knife parry that we see in the trailer?
I like you guys, I'm really impressed with it. I mean, all it's giving us is just another way to handle combat with our enemies, right? Like I said before, you could, you know, work with stealth, or you could go head on, and obviously this time around a little bit more defensive. I mean, there was also, you know, a clip where you could, I think, where he was able to swipe the knife and, you know, parry off like, you know, another attack. You know, another thing that I noticed, like another person mentioned that the reason he's so good with the knife this time around, obviously in story, because, you know, he's a, you know, a little bit more trained operative, right? And from the original source material, I mean, we remember that, you know, he was really good using it, especially in the third act and how he was dealing with Krauser. So in order for him to kind of like, in a way, it builds him up to like, okay, we know he's competent throughout the game, that he's really good with the knife. So by the time, if we do go see Krauser at the latter stages of the game, that makes sense that like, okay, well, he's really good with a knife and he could go head to head with Krauser, you know, in hand to hand combat. So besides that, I mean, like I said, it's just going to give us extra, like, you know, ways of how to deal with enemies. And I really, really like that they're giving us that choice.
Lanos, it's your turn.
I mean, I'm gonna probably say some similar things, but in a way, it is nice to see variety in the combat. And it degrading is a really nice little aspect because, like you said, you can't just run into it. But also, it allows different types of combat. As we mentioned before, there's stealth combat, so that's where that knife can also come into play. And it being that singular item rather than like in RE2 Remake, where it's, you know, an item that you kind of keep on hand, but it's not something you're going to forever use. Sometimes you can, just to try to save on bullets. But it's a nice little feature to add more variety. And if anything, it shows also him going from a rookie to where he is now. It's like a nice little continuation without having to spell it out in exposition, but more you get to see it more in action. Leon is better now. He's a little bit more jaded, because he's making quips, but God, can he handle a knife now? And being able to parry also is just insane to me, especially against a chainsaw. Because, like I mentioned before, it's possible, but it does give that like almost unrealness of this is how good Leon really is. He can block a chainsaw with a knife. What? But also just it really adds to that ridiculousness that RE4 was known for as well. It was a little bit more ridiculous in comparison to the others. So I'm looking forward to being able to use some parry mechanic and seeing what you could do with it beyond the chainsaw, because I'm sure there's a lot more you can do with it. And so I'm going to test that out to its full force.
Okay, so I'm gonna go next on this one. I think the only summary that was in my mind when I saw this was, did Leon just parry a chainsaw with a knife? What happened? How was that possible? What in the actual hell is going on? I saw that and I literally went crazy. So it adds to that ridiculous factor of holy shit, you could actually do this. And I'm wondering, what else could you do? That's going to be absolutely insane when we get to the point of fighting Krauser, assuming he's in this game, because if he's not in this game, Capcom, I'm going to come to your headquarters and I'm going to leave you a very bad letter on the floor. But I imagine that as soon as you start fighting him and you could do all that crap, that's going to be amazing. I want to do knife parries with Krauser, and actually knife parries in the combat, and you're just slashing and slicing everywhere, and it's going to be the most fun, amazing, and ridiculous thing I've ever seen in a video game, especially if they can make that all gameplay based. So the possibilities are really endless with this one. I cannot wait. Obviously though, the balance is you can't do it all the time or your knife will degrade depending on the attack. So I get that. They want to balance things out, but since you can increase the knife durability anyway, imagine how that thing is going to work when it's up to max. It's going to be a monster, and I will be using it to stab things around like cows or chickens or all the things that people hate, because I want to experiment. So that's going to be a fun, gorgeous time. I'm going to pass the torch to Silver.
Alrighty. From a mechanical perspective, loving the idea, because if you think about it, right, previously, we did not have the means to defend ourselves, say, for example, against one of the most notorious enemies in the early game, the chainsaw guy. If he got near you, that head was coming off, and there was nothing you could do about it. So it was very interesting to see that, obviously, now with the, with the full-on remaking of the game, the Ganado's clearly been more intelligent, more aggressive. They're giving you more resources in turn to counter that. The durability aspect as well, it's a fair trade because you can't be totally broken with it. You've got to really pick and choose your fights. But yeah, solid. We now have a means to defend against Salvador and his head-chopping antics, so it's all good with me. And yeah.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the third question. A little bit of spoilers here, but I mean, if you saw the early gameplay presentations like I did, then you kind of know this information. But there was some extra previews that talked about two things. They explained that the signature wolf dog at the beginning is dead, and that Krauser was in the intro at a training facility alongside Leon in a flashback. So what is your opinion on this and Capcom trying to subvert expectations? The first one that's going to go on this is Silver. I'm going to go back up the list.
Well, I'm obviously very, very sad to hear that the wolf is, is dead. I was watching videos of people memeing about the wolf better be in this game, and the wolf is not. So that makes me a bit sad. Always, as a dog lover, make a conscious effort to save the dog every time, just so we can have the little wolfy boy come in and help us against the first Gigante in the OG game. That made me a little bit sad. Also, I explained to us, previews illustrated, I didn't pay much mind to the bit about Krauser. But then again, at the same time, I was also watching this at a very, very early hour in the morning while deliriously tired. So I probably missed out on that bit, and you're telling me something that I didn't pick up upon because when I'm tired, I'm very unobservant. Wolf? Just mention of the wolf not been in it. Or, you know, just the wolf not been a part of it. Just, yeah, sad. Dog lover. Protect wolf. So yeah, I'm actually caught off guard by this one because I genuinely didn't pay much mind and notice. So you've actually shown me something that I can now go back and look at in my own time. So yeah, there's my brief take on it. So yeah, whoever is next, go ahead.
Okay, so before I start, I just want to say the Krauser stuff was only seen by press. It wasn't mentioned or shown anywhere else outside of that, but only press saw that like little cutscene in the beginning of Leon saying, "Oh, it's 1998," and then there's some kind of training montage, and you see Krauser like in the background, the guy with the beret. We know who that is, so clearly they're setting the seas up just like that. But Lanos, it's your turn.
All right. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I am very sad about it. I like the dog. It was a nice little addition, but also I fully understand it's not like they weren't gonna change things, especially with the part about Krauser. Like they're gonna be trying to fit things in more into like how the storyline is. A lot of these remakes are doing that. They're like fine tuning the storyline as they move along. But yeah, I am a little sad about the dog. It was a nice addition. It was something as a former dog owner, I'm just like, oh, and just having that little moment of like, hey, if you help this, it comes back. So it's almost like the game's telling you, you know, treat animals right. But I am excited to see how they're gonna change this and how they're gonna go about it, because if anything, this shows it isn't a one for one. They are making changes to this. So we as players are going to have to experience some of these newer things. And that's a little exciting. It means I'm not playing the same game. It means I am getting new things. So I am excited about it. Just, you know, sad, but excited. But I feel like that's just my life in 2022.
All right, next up is Deva.
Like I share the same sentiment as you guys. I mean, that's pretty surprising that we're not gonna have our buddy Wolfie's gonna help us in a like first fight against El Gigante, you know. And to be honest, the whole Krauser thing, I mean, that kind of gives me, or at least puts me at ease. Like, okay, they are implementing him in some part of the story, especially with the rumors still circulating around about that he's going to be completely cut off and the island portion is going to be gone. So this tells me if they're training together, that means that, does that take place before or after Operation Javier? If that's still canon within this, you know, stories, timeline, whatever. And in a way, if that's the case, they're training together, at least it kind of builds kind of like, okay, these guys were actually friends before, like, you know, their little, you know, combat with each other occurs, right? So, you know, I really like that. But besides that, I have really nothing else to add. Besides, I mean, I feel bad that the wolf's not there. I mean, and we'll just see how we'll deal with El Gigante later on.
Brandon, it is your turn. How do you feel about Krauser and our dead buddy Wolfie?
Admittedly, I am kind of salty that the wolf is gone. I just like the fact that in the original, it's like another like sort of layered gameplay where if you help it, it helps you in the fight. If you don't, well, it makes the fight a little bit more harder. Kind of wish that was still, hopefully would have been in the game. Even if it still died though, at least no, let's help it. No, it help us back, that kind of thing. I've been okay with that. But aside from that though, I'm glad that she introducing Krauser and more cutscenes though, because that was literally one of the biggest problems with original 4 is how, you know, the story is honestly not that great and how it connects with the other games. So the fact that they're actually going the way to introduce Krauser more and more in the cutscenes before he shows up as, you know, one of your antagonists is a welcome change. I just hope that Operation Javier is still canon though, because that's a big motivator on why Krauser himself is you know, went AWOL. they might just do like a remix cutscenes of that operation within RE4 Remake itself, though. But as long as it's there in some fashion, I'd be okay with it.
All right, so I want to go on this real quick as to what I think. The Krauser timeline training thing is a little bit confusing because it's like I know that Leon, that was his first mission with Krauser, was Operation Javier. Now he has that encounter and he's training. So you start thinking, is he gonna encounter Krauser at this training facility, or is it just like, oh, he's passing by and Krauser was also there too, and it just happens to be a poke at the audience? Hey, it's a little reference that this guy is gonna show up later. But I hope they incorporate that lore into there, because clearly this is something that developers made and we know about Operation Javier, and I hope they mention that in this story. That being said, as for the wolf dog, I have a sort of a point of contention on that. I think that's a red herring and that they're screwing with us. And what I mean is, some people have pointed out this dead dog in the bear trap is actually a color of a darker sort of fur, whereas the one in the other one, it wasn't a black wolf, it was a white one. So I'm thinking, are they screwing with us and it's just a dead dog here, and then later on he still shows up in a different way and we thought the dog was dead the entire time? I have a feeling Capcom could do that if they are indeed subverting expectations, because once again, in the beginning of the hut section, you don't just meet the guy cooking. You have to go through an entire Metroidvania house before you finally run into him, snap his neck, and then all of a sudden he comes out from that attack from Leon and his head is like tilted to the side. So they're clearly like subverting stuff, changing stuff, and they want to screw with us, so it's not really familiar. The first remake did that as well, where there's like a dog that crashes through the window in the original. You're expecting him to come through again and he doesn't. It's like a smack or something against the window. Then when you come back to that area, he jumps through. So I think they're gonna be doing stuff like that in this remake too. So I'm onto your game, Capcom. You're not fooling me. That's how I feel about that. But the next person that could go is Hollowheart.
So I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be sad if the wolf is not in the game. You know, as they have said. But in the age of social media, in which everything is so connected and leaks happen so often, I could see people in Capcom wanting to keep certain things different or hushed, or maybe try to make it seem like it's not going to be completely like the original, but then throw in the wolf in some different ways. I don't know, you know, kind of like when I'm walking in a scary game and I turn around, I'm like, oh, something's behind me, and then I'm like, oh no, and then I turn around again, oh, now it's behind me. So one of those things. The part with Krauser, I don't know. I'm really big into the Resident Evil lore, so I'm very interested to see what they do with it, and with introducing him as they have. So that'll be interesting to see.
Austin, it's your turn.
All right, before I start, do I sound okay?
Yep, you do.
Okay, good. All right, so just going back on what a lot of you guys said, I think I agree with Ren that I think the dog being dead is a bit of a red herring, because it is one of the infected dogs you see later in the game. I think that's supposed to be the major hint in clearicity of it. Like, oh yeah, and then I believe somebody I saw on Twitter also pointed that out as well, is that it's not the same color dog, or wolf dog, whatever people like to call it. Yeah. And so I'm pretty sure the dog is going to show up. It has to. Like, everybody loves the dog. And killing it off just doesn't make sense in that case. Like, why would you get rid of something that people were happy to see again? And just it would ruin parts of the game, because having the dog help you against El Gigante is like an epic moment in the game itself that people don't really realize is that epic. That you have this companion, which kind of influenced and spawned Haunting Ground, by the way. It's like literally the same dog in that game. And the fact and knowing that Krauser, there's bits of Krauser in the training program, and talk about earlier discussion. After Operation Javier, I'm pretty sure Krauser actually retired because of the infectious wound that he had, and so he didn't. So if there's any training between him and Krauser, it would probably be before Operation Javier. If I had to estimate, otherwise they changed Operation Javier. But the whole lore behind that is that he got injured in the one of the last two fights in that operation, and I'm pretty sure Leon has a dialogue at the end of that game, at the end of that chapter section, is that he says like Krauser's injuries was like too severe and he was never able to serve again. So, and it's kind of like ironic, like he's this huge military mercenary type guy. And so I believe is that the dog's gonna come back, and the dead dog wolf thing is a red herring. Krauser being a bit of a bigger focus of the story is probably what's needed, because Krauser is kind of pushed in there in original Resident Evil 4. Granted, I love the fucking bastard, and he's dope as fuck. And his voice actor was dope. And I think the boss fight of Krauser, even though now it's one of the easiest things, was pretty hype. And that him being able to transform his arm. But overall, I think Capcom is trying to subvert / try to get you guys to second guess yourselves about what's changed and what's not, what's staying the same, but what's staying the same and being different at the same time. And so I'm excited for all those changes. Like I said, I'm going to be completely engrossed in this game when it comes out. And I'm probably not going to talk to you guys in a long while if that's the case. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. And I just hope it's done really well. But I believe it will be.
All right, so Drew, it is your turn. What is your thoughts on this information?
Thoughts on this information that I don't know of. I didn't know anything about this Krauser thing in the intro. But that sounds really cool. I hope they're not retconning Operation Javier from Dark Side Chronicles. Or maybe they're going to recap events from it. I'm not sure. I mean, Resident Evil has been no stranger to retconning things or not making sense of things that they could have. Like, we still don't know, or I don't know at least, unless they said the true events that played out with Annette Birkin during 2. I mean, whose scenario did she die in? But spoilers. But I am excited for this game. This was the first game in a while where I saw this showcase and I actually had chills of excitement. I was like, wow, this is looking great. But again, I don't know much about Krauser being in it because I only saw the showcase and I didn't see anything about Krauser, so I will have to see that.
So just to summarize, basically, they basically put out a couple of interviews and there were some previews that went up from people who tested the game from review sites, and they mentioned this Krauser cutscene where he's in the beginning where Leon talks about it's 1998, Umbrella fell, blah blah blah. So during that time there's a montage or a flashback where Krauser shows up and he's training in the background, and it's a reference to that, which got people talking because it was not shown in any of the gameplay presentations thus far.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but I'm excited for it. I hope they don't remove stuff or really drastically change things. Krauser being one of them. I know, like in the original, it's not original. Well, yeah, in the original Resident Evil 2, they had the IVs, and then in the 2 remake, they replaced them with the IV zombies. So in terms of story, they could always change up Krauser and his relationship with Leon. I think I read somewhere once before, could be fake, but I remember reading something about them changing that, or someone said they were going to change it or remove it, and I was like, this better not be the case because that's a big part of the story.
Well, that's the good thing about new information. We take it, we adopt, and we see what we learn, and we learn as we go along. They did address what you claimed as well. They said their idea of this game was to look at RE2 and RE3 and see what did not work, and they said that the reason they're keeping the game close to 14 and 16 hours is because their idea was to not take away from the original, only to expand on it, which tells me they said it themselves here, and we have to take their word right here for granted. They are telling us that we do not want to cut anything significant, and we want to give you at least equivalent the whole portion of RE4 in our arranged interpretation of it. So I'm expecting not too much to be cut based on their words alone, which I hope is the case, because they literally just said that.
So were they saying that they knew they didn't do as good of a job on 2 and 3 in terms of remakes? Or?
They're simply saying the main criticism was the cut content, and the ideal was to not carry that over into this version of RE4.
Okay, good. I would love for them to go back and include the cut content in 2 and 3, but I feel like they're probably done.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna do that.
They added the third person for Village, but I mean that game is not over yet. They're still doing DLC. But you would think that if they want to promote the cloud versions, that they might decide to add new content. I'm surprised they didn't add a third person mode for 7 if they're planning on streaming it on cloud as like an incentive to play the game again. But I wonder if 4 will be on Switch for the cloud streaming.
Oh, that's gonna be terrible input lag, but
probably, but you know they're gonna capitalize on it.
Yeah, but I'm gonna get to Tolkien and her response on this question, and then we're gonna move on from there.
Because Ren can't do alphabetical order and thinks L's at the end of the alphabet.
Look, people joined in. It's not my fault.
No, you're
That's
just
not my
blind.
fault. You suck.
You just blind.
You suck, lady.
Whatever.
Ladies, please.
Hush you. It's not your turn.
Eat me. All right. Go ahead, Tolkien.
So I too am gonna be really sad if the dog or the wolf, however you want to put it, is not put into the game. That was one of my favorite parts of the game, because you really got to choose between if you wanted to be like the dog's savior and let him go out of the trap, or if you wanted to play like my brother did and either shoot it or leave it in the trap, because that's how he did it, just for fun. But it's nice to see that if you did happen to save it, he comes back later on in the game and helps you against El Gigante, which is really nice to see. So I really hope he's actually in the game, because I think it was just a nice touch. Krauser, I think it's going to be interesting to see him in the intro, because if I remember correctly, I haven't played 4 in a while. I don't think you even see Krauser until like a third or more through the game, and it almost feels like he was just put in there like as a last thought almost, because you don't see him till then. So it's going to be kind of nice if he is in the intro and you get to see him before the game starts. It's going to be nice to see that. Subvert expectations. I like that they're changing up some things. I know a lot of people were hoping that they would stick completely to the original game and not change anything, but I like how they're keeping it majority same, but obviously updating everything and adding in new things and changing some things. And I think all those changes, while still having the main components of the game, is going to make it even better. So I'm really excited to see this.
Okay, so the next question is relatively simple. It's all about the humor of Resident Evil 4 Remake. Now, we saw when Leon was like shooting the Ganado in the gameplay that he was spouting one-liners. There's 2 versions of this. Number one, well, they did confirm in the previews again that a certain bingo line did come back so people can rejoice. And also he said something like, oh, I'll bill you the utility bill later, when shooting the flaming piece of debris that came on the cow and the cow ran off. So there is the humor back into the fold, and people were concerned about this because they figured the game was going to be way too dark, way too edgy, and it wouldn't have that signature humor back in action. But apparently they were proven wrong. So how do you feel about this being back? We will start off with Austin. Austin? Well, I think he's there.
Sorry, had to find the mute button.
All right.
So I'm gonna be at probably the minority here, and at first I wouldn't say I wasn't a big fan, but I didn't really care if the one-liners came back or not. It would have been nice either way for me personally, because I didn't play the game for the one-liners, as some people just enjoy them all the much. But them being in there and Leon having quips, hey, it's more personality to the character, and I completely agree that him keeping his personality at least and mostly intact, or change it to where it's more appropriate for this day and age. Him having one-liners is great, and I think since that you can shoot one thing and he sprouts a one-liner, and you can sometimes not even find that one-liner in a playthrough. I think that's actually pretty cool that you can get some hidden little details with Leon and what he can say as a quip. And I just hope that it's done well, and that people stop bitching about things that are either too simple to even think about or don't really matter as long as the game is good overall. But having his one-liners back, I guess, is better overall because more people will be satisfied. That's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Drew, it's your turn. Drew.
Oh, I thought I was going second to last.
I'm going down the list once more.
Oh, okay. I like the idea that the humor is back. If that was the question, right? Regarding humor?
Yep.
Yeah, the one-liners. Did he set a cow on fire in the showcase? Because I didn't see that.
Yes, he did.
I am. Huh. But I am happy the humor's back. I'm glad that it seems like they're trying to stay true to the original, which I hope is the case. It seems like that's the case. So, simple answer, yes, I'm I'm happy about that.
Hollow Heart?
I'm not someone who really cares one way or the other about the funny one-liners, in all honesty. I don't think that they really take away from the game. I don't think that they necessarily add to the game as well. So that's kind of where I sit on that one. I'm really not upset at all. It's one of the things that could have been changed, and I would have just been like okay with it. But yeah, so it's Leon. I'm glad that he's back.
Brandon, how do you feel about Leon being corny once again?
I'm glad because that's literally his personality. Because if you take that away, then you don't have Leon, especially in Resident Evil 4 in particular. Like the things that I love about 4 in particular, despite not being the biggest fan of it, is the style of the characters and the humor. But like he has some pretty funny one-liners though. So like without that, though, it's not Leon because it's part of his personality. It's like trying to take away, like, say, Chris's stoic personality, man. It's not Chris at that point, So yeah, I'm glad, they kept that in Resident Evil 4.
Deva?
I'll be honest, I'm really happy that they're actually, making that, a staple for Leon this time around. I mean, I do remember this was a big issue, or not, I wouldn't say issue, actually, like a concern where people were saying like, okay, we have darker emo, Leon this time, and is he still gonna have that quick banters with Salazar? Because remember, like, as much as okay, yeah, it shows a more confident Leon, and I think that was a good progression from his initial debut from Resident Evil 2. That this time, like, okay, he's a government agent and he more confidence. He could handle himself. Well, that also comes along with a personality that, like, even though there were things in front of him that were kind of like imposing, that he could try to make light of it with like the way he talks to other people. Like, again, like I said with Salazar, every time Salazar had something to say, Leon always had a quick quip that would like go against Salazar and it would piss him off, right? Like, for example, that one where he's like, "Your right hand comes off." That was a great one, and it just pissed off Salazar. So I'm really happy they're still going along with this whole like, okay, we're gonna keep that personality, but I do still see that they're gonna keep him a little bit darker this time around because, like, I mean, I from the looks of it, I mean, just going off with the aesthetics and the way the direction of the remakes are going. I could see that, like, yeah, he will still make like some of those jokes, or still making fun of some of the enemies, but he was doing it in like a little bit more off-putting, but like darker way. But overall, I love it.
Cat lady, what about you?
I'm really happy that they're gonna include him. I love Leon's lines. I think that's really what made me fall in love with the game in the first place, was just the humor. I mean, who doesn't like his bingo line? I mean, it's got to be the best one in the game for me. It's just hilarious. Just his lines throughout the whole game is just. It's supposed to be a horror game, but you have these lines and it just make it so humorous. It just cuts the tension. It's just so good. I can see why maybe serious hardcore horror fans are like, oh no, we don't need those in there, because it kind of ruins the horror aspect. They want a more serious vibe. That I get. But it's just, how can you remake it and not make Leon Leon? Like, one-liners are his thing. It's just humor. I mean, and as Austin said, as long as the game is good, it doesn't really matter if they're in or not, in my opinion. But I am glad to see that they are going to be back in.
All right, let's get a mop and clean up aisle 3. All right.
Oh, fuck off.
I agree.
Next up is Lanos.
All right, I know Austin said they were going to be in the minority, but after this line, I actually am going to be in the minority here. I was not as happy as everyone else about the one-liners coming back. I actually don't feel like that was his personality. I feel like it was what made Resident Evil 4 incredibly goofy. It's one of the things where I liked his direction they were taking with the new remake in 2, and now it's returned back to form of the 1990s 2000 action hero lines, where some of them are good, but it's just like, do I want a whole game of this? No. I liked that they were taking a little bit of a darker, serious emotions with him, but it was just one of those things where, yeah, you can make one-liners, but like a whole game of that, it just seems like you're just playing towards people who were a little angry that you were going to remove it. But I mean, again, I'm in a minority about it. I think like you can throw in a couple of them and that's fine, but and that's what they're going to do. But like hearing through even like the showcase, hearing don't worry about it, I'll pay for the repairs. I don't know. I wasn't as happy about it, but I know this is a thing that's kind of torn people back and forth about. So that's just me.
Silver, it's your turn, buddy.
Was pleased that I'm going last for this one, because it's like was mentioned earlier on. It's a very small thing that doesn't really need. It doesn't need to be overthought. Yet, ironically, among my community and my stream people, this single point of the element of humor potentially being included or removed has been a colossal point of debate for weeks and weeks and weeks. It really has. I mean, I personally am super happy and super relieved that we're still going to be getting the humor. Your right hand comes off, bingo, all that stuff. I'm a child of the late 90s, early 2000s, and I have a soft spot for cheesy one-liners and also the Schwarzenegger movie Last Action Hero. So to have Leon doing this in video game form was very good. I'm pleased by it, but there are some people that have said to me, I would have preferred a tonal shift and a more serious vibe. Whereas other people have said to me, it's one of the core parts of Leon's character, which has been mentioned. So there's been a very strong point of contention. I know a few people personally who are actually, as small an element that this is, really willing to die on this hill of if they take out the humor element, it's not truly Leon. and I wouldn't go that far, but I do think it's a part of his character that should still be in there, especially in 4. So yeah, I'm pleased. I'm looking forward to it. One thing I'm hoping or interested to see, we'll say, is the scene where Leon's about to fall down the spiked pit to his demise, and then it's like, don't fall for this old trick, and then shoots the freaking horn that Salazar's got in his ear, and then Salazar proceeds to have a horrendous man-child tantrum, and then order the Verdugo to kill. That's one of my favorite parts of the game, so I'm hoping there's some element of that in there. But yeah, I'm happy, but I likewise know some people have really drawn battle lines over this. But then again, I suppose we can equate that to internet, can't we? Internet being internet and people on stream being people on stream. So yeah, that's my take.
All right. What I feel about this is I'm not on the extreme side of one way or the other. I do feel like, yes, Leon being corny is obviously part of the character, but I'm also not gonna say, oh, because it's not done in this way or it's not done frequently, that the game is bad, because I've seen people do that and I'm just not that way. Also, I don't mind the more darker nature for RE4, because it seems like it's going to be interspersed with the game, and I think that's fine. Them doing the trauma that Leon had from Raccoon City has also always been there since the beginning, if people aren't well aware. I mean, if you read the notes for RE6 with Leon in them, when he recounts his events, he literally says, I was so bummed out during this whole session that I actually wanted to commit suicide during this, and I decided to have a will strong enough to go on for Sherry and stuff like that. So those elements being explored of the character or being brought out in this game, if it is, then it will totally make sense to how RE6 did the notes, but not to the point where it's like overt, because obviously everyone knows he completes his mission and stuff like that. So I would like to see new spins on it, or new takes on it, where it's like we've never seen this side before of the characters. Even that last shot of Ashley sort of holding a gun up, and it looks like the Plaga's influencing her to do so, possibly against Leon, that would be a nice point of contention as well, because it's like, oh well, I can't kill her, but it's making me, go against this character, is making me do these things I don't want to do, and the Plaga is totally capable of that mind control. So I would love to see more of that dramatic effect, as people said in the comments, between all of these characters, and see where it goes. Like, just see what happens. So that's what I think of that in particular. But we got to move on to the next question, and it's talking about the Ganado. Now, we saw how they reacted, how they acted during the gameplay presentation, moving in swarms, etc. So it's time to give our opinion on what we think of the new Ganado and how they operate in the environment and within context of the cutscenes and everything else. So, Austin, it is your turn.
Alrighty. The Ganados, after seeing them in action, I think they look great. They're super fluid. I believe I like how their AI works based on a lot of factors, where if you're grabbed and there's a chainsaw guy in the area, they will forcibly move you towards the chainsaw to be killed. Like, that shit is super fucking crazy cool. That, like, oh yeah, I have him here. Let me point you in the right direction and kill this bastard. And I think the Ganado having a variety of attacks now, other than just, oh, I'm just gonna swing my axe, or I'm just gonna grab you, type of deal, or oh, I'm gonna sway to the side and dodge with my bobbing my head back and forth. No, they're smarter. They're more tactical with their approach. If they're going to swarm you, they're going to swarm you and either grab you from behind, and so everybody just takes their lick on you. I think a huge part of it is going to be what's going to influence it is does the AI learn how you play? Is if you're going to stealth through a section and enemies will realize that their companions are dead, and so they'll start being aware, sort of like a Metal Gear Solid type of thing? Or are they going to be more influenced in that when they're rushing you, they're a little bit more agile? They're going to be more. There's just going to be more depth to how they act, and as an adversary that you have to take down. But overall, I think the Ganados look great. I think they seem very much more scarier. I like that they're smarter and they're willing to be a little bit more extra than they were than the original, and I am very excited.
Drew, it's your turn.
I am excited because I liked playing against the 4, 5, and 6 enemies and the mercenaries from there. So I was really used to reacting to the way they acted. So to see them acting similarly got me excited. And I'm hoping that they act similarly because of that. But I would also like to see some new twists. And the way that they look, like the first Ganado we see with his neck kind of snapped and the plaga coming out of the side of his neck, I thought it was really cool that they're really trying to bring some more horror into this. And I'm wondering if we're going to see a lot more variety of plagas sticking out of Ganado, where maybe we would have to shoot different spots depending on where it's sticking out for more damage. But yeah, I'm excited for it, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. And I'm curious if we're gonna have a wider variety of Ganado than the original. I think in the trailer it looked like there was one Ganado who, like, right in the first scene of when they were bursting into the house through the door, it looked like there was two two of the exact same Ganado. I was like, oh, you'd think that they would have. If that's the case, you'd think that they would have tried not to show that in the showcase. But it looked like they were basically Ganado twins. But unless I'm wrong, but it looked to me like they were showing repeating Ganado right in the beginning of the trailer. So I guess maybe some laziness on their part, but I could be wrong. I would have to see that again. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and I hope there's more variety of Ganado.
Hollow Heart, your turn.
I am super excited for seeing what they have done with the updated AI of the Ganados. I think one of my favorite things when going into Resident Evil 8 was that initial walking towards the wolf, and you have to shoot him, and right when you go to shoot him, he immediately moves to the right or whatever, like moving out of your way. And I absolutely love that. I love intelligent AI who's not just running at your knife. So I'm very interested to see what the Ganado are able to do themselves, like just themselves in fighting you, and then interested to see in what, as others have said, what they add to, maybe the complexity of fighting them, as far as adding, maybe a spot that needs to be hit in, a knee or something. I don't know, it's just one of those things where it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. But I'm very excited because they've done a lot of great things with tweaking the AI in these most recent games, and I would love to see them apply those changes to their older enemies since they're redoing it.
Brandon, what do you think about this topic?
Honestly, I'm really loving the Ganados. They feel like a more natural evolution of the Lycans, more so than previous iterations of, like, say, RE4, 5, 6 enemies. So Lycans actually are pretty tactical for the most part. They will like gang up on you. And I think one of them could actually hold you. Don't remember that much. But so, like, the fact that they like double down and give them extra stuff to, like, like getting a hold down, get another enemy to chainsaw your health and stuff like that. That's definitely a welcome change. It gives me. I'm curious to know what other utility they can have. Because not all Ganados are built the same. So, like, imagine if the Plagas bees, I believe. the ones that bite your head off. Imagine if one of the other enemies holds you in place, and the Ganado be like will try to bite your head off. So I hope to see a little bit more tactics and utility from the enemies, stuff like that. So it's hoping that Capcom will deliver more on stuff like this.
All right, Dev, I'm going to pass the baton to you.
Well, I agree with all of what you guys said. I mean, from the looks of it, I mean, it looks absolutely amazing. I love how aggressive they are, and I like how they're all helping each other out just to, like, you know, try to kill Leon. I don't know about you guys, and I'm kind of giving my age here, but if you guys remembered in like a trailer for Resident Evil 5, the early version of it, right? And it showed like hordes of, like, you know, the like Genie and all that trying to go after Chris. Well, this kind of reminded me of how like aggressive and like the more humanoid enemies are, and I really hope they don't scale that back with the final release of the game, because if they're just gonna continue on what we saw with like what we saw from trailers and gameplay and so whatnot, and if they could even add on more like what you guys said previously, like that'd be great. I really want to see more of that kind of like, all right, let's say one Ganado sees you while you're trying to crouch down, then all of them would just like go after you, even if one is like in the complete opposite side of the room, right? That'd be great. Another one is like, you know, if one of them hears you, he could also communicate and like, hey, Leon's over here, let's go like corner him, you know? Or like another one, like let's say if you're in one of the houses, hopefully they made like the AI where it's like, well, not like, you know, not all of them would just like try to hoard through one door. Instead, like, you know, try to go through every means possible in a smart way to try to capture Leon. So I really hope that they go with that approach, and especially if they don't cut out the whole remember like Leon and Lewis, like, you know, tag teaming inside that cabin. Like I really want to see what the fruits of like all this crazy combat's gonna come out to.
All right, next up is the Whopper.
No, I don't know who that is. It's not me.
Okay, Whopper, answer the question.
And yet you responded to it.
Okay, so Ganado, I think they look so good. Like, they look very similar to the original game, but just more refreshed, not as sickly looking, I guess you could say. So realistic. And the way they move and the things they do is just so good. I'm really excited to see what the rest of the enemies look like. The chainsaw guy in the village looked so gross and so creepy, and I was just like, oh, this is gonna be so good. So I'm just really pumped to see what the rest of them look like. Just basing it off of those, they're all gonna look so good. So I'm excited.
Lanos, it's your turn. 30s Club, yes.
Yeah. I'm actually really excited. From what I can see in the showcase, they seem to be a lot smarter of enemies, and there seems to be a lot more of them. So being overwhelmed, especially in certain areas, is just going to be fantastic. Having to figure out different ways to take them down also feels really nice. So I'm really excited to how they're going about this, because one of the things is you're going to run into Ganados a lot. That's just part of the main gameplay. So putting a lot of effort into them seems like the right move. And they're just scarier now, especially as you're in the oppressive environment. It's a little bit darker, except for like some of the town areas. And even then, it's still kind of grimy. And then you have things just really up in your face like before, but you get a lot more detail seeing them, and they're a lot scarier now than they were when they were on the GameCube pixels. So between the movement, their gameplay, the way they look, I'm just really excited how they're going about it and just giving them a little bit more action and variety. Though it was mentioned before, I did catch that too. There were some of those, but hey, who knows? Maybe there's twins in that town. I don't know. Or it could just be Capcom being a little bit lazy, but I don't care. As long as the gameplay's better, I can take some lazy twin Ganados.
All right, Silver. So tell us all about the story of Don Jose and the Ganados.
All right. Story time with a British guy. Don Jose and the Ganados all began when. No, we're not going there, but thanks anyway, Ren. Okay, so these Ganados. Right. I'm curious. I'm genuinely curious about how they are going to behave in practical application on release. Because we saw the. Sorry, I'm just laughing chat. Saw the obviously how they behave effectively as a team while tackling Leon in the village. They are, as everybody has said and has rightly clocked onto, working effectively as a team, trying to almost pass him around amongst each other to effectively kill him as a unit. Although at the beginning, we did see the one Ganado with the broken neck that was moving a lot slower and looked like he had the parasitey thing, kind of starting to protrude out of his neck. Obviously, I'm going to work on an assumption here, right, with that Ganado. That one is probably one that was encountered, probably at the beginning of the game. Leon either killed it or took it down. Then obviously it got back up in like its injured form again and pursued him later on. Which makes me think, because you know how the Ganados, something Ren said there, yeah, Leon kicks him and his neck is broken. You know how the Ganados in the game, pretty much they acted in their rational human way before you pots their head off, and then when the actual parasite takes control, they are slower and they are lumbering and they are pretty much the body is being controlled by the parasite. Then the element of human consciousness is just gone. I'm very curious to see the practical application of that. If we're going to see different AI behaviors in different parts of the game, say if we get an island segment, Ganado AI might be different to how it is in the castle. They might behave differently in the castle to how they do in the village. These are just hypotheticals that I'm building off the discussion that's already been mentioned here, because there was a lot that's already been mentioned by everybody so far that was really solid. So just something I wanted to add to that. But yeah, I am pleased, and it's obviously going to need, especially on higher difficulties, if the way they are working in the gameplay footage we've seen so far is any indication of the main game itself, which you probably will be for definite. You're either going to have to work very effectively on higher difficulties or be very intelligent with how you tackle them to not end up being horribly mobbed and murdered. So yeah, there's my take on it. A bit long-winded, but I did just want to add to what was already mentioned, because I see potential there. A lot of different hypothetical scenarios. Yeah, I think it's good. It's solid. It's going to need a lot more thought than the classic experience where it's like, I'm sure most of you remember that in RE4, the OG one, I mean, they basically had like 3 particular ways of acting. Attack you with weapon, try to grab you and then have somebody else attack you, or then have Parasite attack or kill you when Parasite pops out of head. They're clearly going to be a lot more dynamic. So yeah, that's my take, and I reckon we're good. I'll tell the story about Don Jose and the Ganados next time, Ren, just for you.
All right, so it is my turn. The wise old sage here. So I loved how the Ganado operated, looked, etc. Now, granted, I thought it was kind of funny seeing the chainsaw guy, and his eyeballs now looks like 2 punched in meatballs, but that's besides the point. I just like how they all coordinate and attack and call on people to come behind you and grab you. That typical stuff that you've seen before, just on a new level this time around. I also am very, very glad I read all the previews for this because it just retains that extra sort of sense of urgency when you realize that now if you try to climb up to the bell tower, the floor like breaks apart, so you can't go up there anymore. And the enemies can also alter the environment, as you seen with the chainsaw guy, where he cut down the stairs. They said, in particular, you cannot go up that stairway anymore, which means you could be cut off if you really don't think properly on that sort of issue that's going on in the environment. And I really think that's going to make the game a lot more tense if the Ganado can block you off in most of these areas at any given point, which changes the game. And it also says, hey, you're screwed. If you get stuck, you gotta get your way out. So I hope that is well balanced, of course, but I have a feeling that that's going to make the encounters a lot more difficult because you're going to be thinking, is all going to be muscle memory cut off now? That being said, I think the enemies function pretty okay for the most part. There was that one guy though that got stabbed in the neck or whatever. I thought that was an insta kill, but he just stood there, you know, and like, oh, I just got a knife to the throat, everything's fine. There's finishers in the game as well, and there's one thing I kind of want to talk about that I don't think was touched upon, but I'm wondering, are they going to bring back stuff like finishers where you can despawn the Ganado, and obviously there's your flashbangs which kills them immediately. So it's mechanics like that that is going to come into the equation. I hope though that once they get to the point of the game where there's armored Ganados or different types of Ganados showing up, that this attributes to the AI changing it up and being different. Now you got to shoot them in the leg because they have like armored helmets, and then there's the zealots as well. Like how different are the zealots going to be from the original Ganado, and what will they do outside of the Plaga head chomp that they do? It's a lot to think about, it's a lot to take into account, and I think if we're going to talk about this, then variety is really important, and I hope they maintain that factor. And that's about it for me for that question. So I'm gonna move on to the next one, obviously, and that is, let me see, that is question number 6. So it's a lot here. We basically got a big story trailer after we got that gameplay. It was a lot of content in there. Just to recap, we saw things like the updated look for Salazar and Luis. We saw Ashley pulling a gun, possibly on Leon. We got a glimpse of Ada's new voice actor, who was Lily Gao. She was Ada in Welcome to Raccoon City, which I just found out just now. There were the 2 Verdugos, which is important because I think the leak said one of them was cut for some reason, but both of them are there, the red one and the black one, so there you go. And then on the map there was the hidden factory level that people are kind of speculating that wasn't really there before. So are they talking about the island since it's now close to where everything is, or is this totally like a new reworked island area and they're just calling it the Forbidden Factory? It's a lot to take away, but for question number 6, what do you think of all this information? And we will go with Austin.
Alrighty, so when the second trailer played, I love that they showed a lot more of the middle sections of the game. Like we saw more of Lewis, we saw how Salazar and the Verdugos look. The Verdugos look really awesome. They look really beefy and just like giant and just menacing. I'm like, great, make them even more fucking terrifying and probably even more deadlier than they were before. That's awesome. I love it. Just make them fucking the worst nightmare fuel you can have. There's just giant fucking bug-like creatures. And Ada's new voice, did not know. I'm glad that you put it in that that it's Lily Gao from Welcome to Raccoon City. That's why I was a little off-put about the voice. I was like, huh, they kept the same face but a different voice. Even though I think Ada in Resident Evil 2 Remake was fine. I think she was pretty damn good as Ada. But the lines that they showed in the trailer for Lily Gao was questionable at best. Like, I hope that other lines are just delivered a lot better. We'll see. Yeah, I don't get why they randomly replaced her. I think the original Ada that they had for Resident Evil 2 remake was fine. She was fine. I think she matched the attitude and kind of like the snarky Ada that kind of represent the original Ada in Resident Evil 2. The updated look for Salazar, I think it looks right. They didn't want him to make him look like this old like English Spaniard like pirate kid, and so they made him like this little like Beethoven super classical look of Salazar, and he looks older too, which is the thing, is that he was trapped in a child's body, yet he's still aged, so he's still as small as a child, but he now looks like he's older, which I kind of appreciate that they did. Lewis, I think he looks fucking fantastic. He looks like he's a suave motherfucker, and that he is as a Brit, I am offended. Sorry, my man. I'm just saying that he had like an English look to him, and that it sort of didn't work in the end, even though yeah, Lewis looks sleazy, but he looks like a sleazy, charming bastard, and I think that's what makes that's why I think just the way they portrayed him, he looks like he's probably still like the same scientist, but I feel like he's slightly like gone a little bit crazy from the plaga after he removed it. But no, I want to see more of Lewis. I hope they do a lot more with Lewis because he's a fan favorite. A lot of people love him. And lastly, there's something called Forbidden Factory on the map. Forbidden Factory could mean a base of operations for Sadler. It could be where the mines are, or a certain part of the mines where they find the plaga. We don't really know. Like, it could be a reworked it could be a reworked island, which I know some of you on here would love, and that'd be cool if the island turns into something that's completely different but has that similar aesthetic. That's completely fine. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, definitely it has a name now, but it'd be cool, yeah. But overall, I think the updated looks for everybody is great. I think Chief Mendez looks great too. They had to give him a hat as like a Mr. X kind of reference, I guess. But Chief Mendez looks great. Lewis looks great. I think everybody looks great. Their redesigns. Yeah, you forgot about Mendez. Yeah, Mendez looks great. I think from the trailer, it looked like he was missing his right eye. Like his right eye wasn't open. It was his left eye the entire time was open. So I wonder what's going on there. I think it's supposed to hint that his left eye is a key item, apparently. But yeah, Mendez looks great. Del Lago, the little snippet we see about Del Lago, it looks like a fleshy, like little leech almost. Like it's a little weird, if you know what I mean. Del Lago does look awesome. I do agree. It's just that he looks fleshy, like in like sort of like an inside out leech, which might be intentional, might be not. Because I mean, if I remember correctly, Del Lago is like sort of like a salamander / fish like breed. I don't remember the specifics, but yeah. I think the trailer was great. It showed a lot more of the middle ground stuff. Showed a lot of the middle ground stuff. A lot of castle sections. So I am indeed, yeah, it's a salamander. Thanks for confirming that. But yeah, I'm totally excited from that salamander. Oh Jesus Christ. Yeah. I really appreciate what they did with that trailer. So I'm happy.
All right, Drew Maru, it's your turn.
I'm here. Whoops. Yeah, so I didn't even know about Ada's new voice. That's news to me. I didn't know about the Forbidden Factory on the map, but that makes me wonder if they're giving names to places so that they could use in a potential mercenaries mode. Which I hope they do a mercenaries mode, and I hope it's like 4, 5, and 6, because that was my go-to mercenaries. 5 specifically, and 6 I really enjoyed. But yeah, I'm wondering if they're putting names for areas on the map for a potential mercenaries mode. And I really like the updated look for Salazar and Luis. I gotta look at him again. I remember looking at him and being like, oh, he looks different. But Salazar, they made him look a little more disgusting, and I thought that was really cool. I'd have to look at it again. I don't know if he looked older to me, but regardless, I remember in the original, Leon thought he was older, and he said he was only like 20 something. So making him look older would add to Leon's confusion of, thinking he's older. And Ashley pulling a gun, yeah, I guess I that makes me wonder if there's going to be a playable part with her like in the original, and if she would use a gun or not. So yeah, I'm curious how, if some of these things that we're seeing are somewhat hints, whether intentional or not, at other things like a mercenaries mode, or when you play as Ashley, will she be able to use a gun now? Or maybe Ashley will be playable in mercenaries, or maybe it's just for a cutscene. I don't know, but yeah, my thoughts on this is, what could this mean for more stuff? And the Verdugos being back, I would expect them to bring everything back if they're not going to cut anything. If they weren't there, I would be more surprised. But yeah, I think I covered all those points.
Yeah, just to clarify, like, I guess people saying Verdugo being cut was just due to fear mongering that, and again, rumors, because this is all rumors from 4chan that people made up first before we got solid confirmation that they're actually here in the story trailer, so all we had to do was really wait. But I can see people saying that because RA3 was, they cut a lot, but that's another story. I'm gonna let Hollow Heart go on this question now.
Okay. So yeah, the trailer first off was just beautiful. Like everything they gave us in the showcase yesterday for the remake was absolutely beautiful. There's not a single thing that I was a little worried, apprehensive maybe coming into the showcase, like what they were going to deliver us with for. But upon seeing everything that they've given us and hearing what they've said so far, I'm itching to play the game. I'm so excited. Salazar looks very creepy now, which I'm very happy for. I kind of like the reskinning, just improving upon the original design just a little bit to add to the creep factor, and I really like it. I'm not sure if they're going to do anything different with his age, or if they're going to keep the original lore with the age thing, but we'll have to wait and see. Luis, he definitely looks like the guy that I would not leave my drink around. So it's gonna be really fun to see him again. It's gonna be really fun to play this game and be a part of this world. So with that, Ada's new voice, I did not know that it was Lily Gal from Welcome to Raccoon City, and I'm actually kind of excited about that. I liked her as Ada in that. I actually really liked that whole imagining of the Resident Evil universe. So that's super cool in my book. Oh, I just went down way too far. That's why I got lost. Okay, so the Verdugo's being back is pretty awesome. Very excited about that. Again, kind of like what's already been said, it seems like they're kind of bringing back everything. So not really sure where they're going to start making the cuts at, but and the Forbidden Factory definitely probably could be something to do with mercenaries. But it'll be interesting to see what it actually is. Maybe they have reflavored the island a little bit, so maybe we'll see that. Maybe that's what it has to do with. Maybe we're getting a Heisenberg like level, like what we got in 8 kind of thing, where we have a factory with layers that we go up and down or whatever. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what exactly is going to be done with that, but I'm very excited for the game itself, and I cannot wait for the game.
Brandon, your turn.
See, where to start? I'm gonna start with Lewis and his looks. Truth be told, I'm not sure how I feel about Lewis. He maybe it will grow on me though, but it does give me that Stranger Danger type vibes, you know. I'm not digging his new coat or whatever it is though, personally. But yeah, I'm gonna probably warm it to it at some point though. But I'm not digging his new look. Salazar, is quite on the nose as far as like the old man joke, considering that Leon called him an old man in the original game. So probably they did that more on purpose just to make it more clear that it looks like an old man. Because to me though, he looks still look pretty damn young, even if that was the intention they were going for the original game. That's cool, I guess. Ashley holding a gun against Leon. I didn't actually have like pale skin in the in that cutscene. I mean, in the screenshot. If not, then I feel like that she's probably using that against self defense, like when Leon spooked or whatever. That's probably my best guess. As for Ada's new voice, I honestly got didn't know it was a new voice. I saw it was still Jolene. That was the lady's name was from RE2 remake. So I'm quite surprised about that. It's a shame too though, because she did a pretty good job. So, but yeah. Ada and Leon get like replaced voice actors almost every freaking era. So like kind of used to it at this point. As far as the Verdugo's back, hey, cool. I'm glad they're not cut because the last game. We're not gonna talk about that right now though. But yeah, Capcom had a huge problem hands with that stuff. And as far as the Forbidden Factory, I have a suspicion that it's going to be a whole new area they're going to add in, or is it going to be like a small segment that will lead into the island? That's part of my educated guess on that one. Yeah, that's it.
All right, so Deva, it's your turn.
All right. Well, I'll probably have to like agree with Brandon and Hello Heart in terms of the look of Luis. I'll be honest, I'm not really impressed with his look because from the original, he always came off as like the suave kind of character, trying to charm the ladies, right? I mean, he kind of did it with Ashley a little bit, but then he kind of gave that to Leon. But looking at Luis now, he kind of looks like the guy that you would go in the back alley to kind of like deal with some illegal stuff. That kind of look, I mean, and he looks like the type of guy that would looks to kind of like backstab Leon given the chance. But maybe that's just me. I mean, hey, look, he could be a great character and I'll definitely give it a chance, I mean, but first impression, I mean, all I can say, I mean, his jacket looks great to me. I mean, but then with the Salazar look, I would say out of all the characters that I've, that was showcased, I was very impressed with his. Like, I mean, I spoke about it earlier. I mean, he does look older, and I think it was Halahar who mentioned that that he's like an old man, but like stuck in a younger man's body. Or but thing is though, are they still gonna keep that whole notion that he's only gonna be 20 years old? Because that was kind of an important story point where that the 20-year-old younger Salazar was manipulated by Sadler. So if you're gonna have him a little bit older, I mean, you would think that he'd be wiser to be like, hey, it's clearly this guy has a motive and he just wants to use me to open up like the cave in the plagas underneath the castle. You know what I mean? So I don't know how much that would change, but like I said, I mean, the overall look with Salazar, he looks terrifying. I love the way they like, if you look at the small details, like the little tendrils that's like running around his neck and his eyes are just like bloodshot. I mean, he looks terrifying. He looks imposing, and he gives that feel like he's looking down at you like, hey, I'm the king of this castle and I'm the one really in charge. And since we're also speaking of the Verdugos, I mean, I remembered in the original, I mean, that kind of like that stalker chase scene from the Verdugo like we had in the tunnels. That was one of my favorite parts of the games because that terrified me. So are they gonna have both those guys chase after you, or are they gonna like still do the same exact thing where one's gonna go chase after you and then the second one's gonna be like part of the mutation that Salazar will have at the end of like his portion of the castle? And then speaking of like additional information in regards to the factory, I mean, does that indicate that we won't have the island section? I mean, yeah, that could be, but that could be the portion where we play on, like as like the makeshift island portion, right? I mean, as long as they don't take off a massive amount of content like they did with RE3 Remake, I'm good with it because they're gonna just remember, like it's not just a remake; they're actually it's a reimagining of Resident Evil 4. So as long as they don't cut content and they add more, which it seems like they will be, I mean, I'm all for it.
Okay, next up is Token.
So the look for Salazar I do like. I think that was well done. Lewis looks super fucking sleazy, as it's been said already. It's not terrible, but I think as of now, it might grow on me, but as of now, the older look I think looks better. It's almost sort of creepy the way he looks now, but granted, we only seen a couple shots of him, so it wasn't in maybe the best light. So as I said, maybe in time that might grow a little. But as of now, I do prefer the old look. I liked the little bit we saw of the Plagas taking over Ashley, maybe turning her against Leon. That's an interesting aspect. I could care less about Ada voice line. I'll just move on from that one. The Verdigos, I'm happy to see. I think they look fantastic. Some of my favorite part of the game is the area they're in. As far as the factory, I would guess that it's probably going to be the island, which is not a surprise that a lot of people do not like that area. It was so weirdly put into the game, and every time I play it, as soon as I get to that, I think, oh my god, do I want to finish this? Like, I love the game so much, but that part is just, I cannot stand it. The one thing I love about that part is the regenerators. They are the coolest thing in that part of the game. They're labored breathing. You can hear them around corners. It sounds like they're always around you, and you're always looking around like, oh my god, is one right here? Like, looking at me, coming after me, the way they wiggle on the ground if you shoot off their limbs. The guy I was dating at the time when I started playing Resident Evil 4 showed me this really funny thing you could do with the regenerators. If you shot off their legs, the limbs, and if you could do it quick enough and shoot the main Plagas body and get them to implode essentially before they could regen their limbs, once they imploded, the only thing you had left was like a set of their ass cheeks on the ground, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. So like every time we played, that was what we would do and try to get them as many on the ground as we could. But overall, I love the trailer. As I've stated numerous times, so excited to play this game and get back into it. I just love it all, and I just can't wait.
I should not have read chat. I see sex with regenerators. Token dated a regenerator. Like, what is going on? I'm just gonna move on to Lanos. Lanos, it's your turn.
Okay, yeah, chat's a little spicy there. For me, Salazar, the updated look actually makes a lot more sense, especially if you think about the Plagos, like just affecting his body over time. I would see like it would have some kind of drastic effect. So him looking much older makes so much sense to me. Luis, I actually don't have as much a problem with it because, as you remember, he is a Spaniard. So Capcom may be trying to play into that a little bit more while also trying to make him a little bit like eye candy, but that's like kind of the weird thing they put in the middle. He does look distinctive enough that you do remember him. Like, we're all talking about it. He looks slightly sleazy, but you still remember him, which makes him very much distinctive in the character design. So it's not a bad thing. I actually kind of like it. So like when you mention the character, they're like, "Yep, I know who Luis is now." As for Ashley pulling a gun on Leon or just handling a gun, it was really funny because the previous showcase when they showed this at first, me and Max were talking about how it would be a really cool idea for Ashley to get a gun or being trained by Leon to handle a gun. And then now in this video, Ashley has a gun. So it's really, really interesting to see that. So it may just be a cutscene. It could just be a little bit more variety to make Ashley less helpless, which honestly, as a player, would be kind of nice. Love Ashley, but sometimes the escort missions, my God. As for like Ada's new voice, I recognize the voice change and how I agree it's a little weird for the change now, especially since Ada's already been voiced previously in RE Remake 2, but I will give it credence when they did play Ada in Welcome to Raccoon City. I was not I actually liked their playing of them, so hearing the voice is a little familiar for me. But I guess I'm gonna have to see how it is overall when I get more lines than just like one. So we'll see. I don't hate Ada, unlike some, but we'll have to see. The Verdugos, I never thought they were gonna cut that. That is kind of a part of the story to begin with. Cutting them felt very weird. If they were gonna cut anything, let it be the island, not the Verdugos. That would make no sense even from an enemy type standpoint. Their variety in enemies, and they're, while they kick my ass a couple times, they are a good boss enemy. The Forbidden Factory, though, has me very, very curious. Are they going to cut the island? Is the island going to be just a cutscene? Is it just like a name given to it now? Like, what are they doing with it, and why is that on the map? That's gonna be something I'm gonna be rolling through my brain, talking to chat and everyone else, trying to figure out what is the Forbidden Factory. And it's just juicy enough for me to really want to know. Also, the merchant having a table and having that extra look, what really, really nice to see. It's not just him randomly in a coat holding a million items, which is really, really interesting to see. But it is nice to see that there is a table now, especially when you're getting items. And Mendez looks really, really good. He already looked imposing, but my God. So some of these little extra little bits in the story trailer showcase was nice little hints and nods. Hey, we didn't cut a lot. Here are some moments that you know it's going to be okay. You can be a little bit more confident in what we're doing. So I'm pretty excited about it. And I think they showcased the right amount of things, but not enough that we see everything already. So now it's just to see what the game is in general.
All right, Silver, it's your turn, buddy.
I have been waiting. I have been waiting very, very, very patiently while I'm discussing nice, thick, spiky regenerators. Anyway, right. So, calling it now before I forget. Calling it now before I forget. And come back to me in a few months' time with this one, because I am dead certain my money's on it. Aesthetically, appearance-wise, Chief Mendez is going to be a pursuer. He is going to be a pursuer in the early stages of the game. Just his appearance, the trench coat, the hat. They're clearly on a bit of a vibe with the whole pursuer enemy thing. We've had it in, good God, all games now. Jack Baker, Lady Demetresque, Nemesis, Directs. Just by the aesthetics and the appearance, you will not convince me otherwise that at least for a small, if not limited portion of the game, Mendez will be a pursuer until we finally fight him in his last form. Looking awesome and intimidating, by the way. Long coat and everything. That. So, next up. Right. Start with Luis. And I'm definitely gonna have some agreement in terms of him looking chat, sorry. Him looking, well, in the original he looked suave. And he did look suave. You can't argue with that. It was like man snaps fingers, antis drop. In the remake, it's more like man snaps fingers, woman calls FBI and gets man put on register. He looks very, very sleazy. I'm agreeing with people there. Not sure how I feel about that. When I originally saw it, I'm like, you've lost the suave, dude. You've lost the suave. Not sure. With time, my perception might change. We'll see about that one. But on the other front, though they're talking Salazar next, I had some initial shock seeing the redesign. The more I watch it, and especially the bit where he's like, he has chosen death, where he snaps his fingers and you hear him speak, I'm really, really liking Salazar. And whole him looking older thing makes sense despite it slightly contradicting his stated age in the previous iteration of the game. It's already been noted in several different bits of Resident Evil like lore and just implied through various different things that certain biochemical agents and viruses and parasites actually cause at least some kind of external aging. So, unsurprising. I mean, for all we know, this guy might have been alive for potentially hundreds of years and has been preserved by the Las Plagas parasite. So yeah, very happy to see Salazar. Dugo. They're like the reimagining of those things looking so tall and freaking intimidating. The Verdugo already makes me nervous. It might just be a personal thing with me. It already makes me nervous. Goodness me, we cannot go through a podcast without a penis appearing in chat in some form. Sorry, it just got my attention. Anyway, so yeah, let me get my thoughts back on track. Yeah, Verdugo intimidates me. Verdugo intimidates me a lot. Always has done. Whenever it comes to fighting the guy in like the original game, it's always a job of freeze him, get rocket launcher, done. It's just something menacing. But seeing these guys stood there, two towering, hulking monstrosities, looking even bigger, actually, than they did in the original. And my imagination was running wild there. I'm like, what horror, what monstrosity is waiting, like, behind that hood when it pulls its hood down? What horrible iteration of this creature is going to try and put its foot so far up Leon's ass this time around? So yeah, happy if not intimidated by the redesigns on the Verdugos. As for the new voice actress for Ada, I honestly didn't notice. Honestly didn't notice until this was pointed out during the podcast. I genuinely thought it was Jolene just putting on a different type of inflection and, you know, manipulating her voices. Obviously, these talented actors and actresses do. So that's taught me something there and showed me something that I wasn't even aware of. And it's... No, it was Lily Gal from Raccoon City either. Welcome to Raccoon City. So yeah. Anything else? I'm going through this on the list. I wasn't really paying attention enough to the fact that something was called Forbidden Factory, so you've taught me something there as well. I was very unobservant during my initial watching of the showcase stuff. It was very late at night, but I'm gonna call back to something somebody said earlier. Don't know if it was Austin or what. Something was mentioned about the Forbidden Factory potentially being a name that has been chosen. The possibility of mercenaries stages. I'm going to second that. That sounds like a very, very intelligent conclusion to draw. And last thing, I'm convinced when it comes to Ashley and her appearance, right, that like the look on her face when she's holding that gun at Leon, it does look as though the Plagas is taking over. I don't feel she's in her right mind. So it makes me ask the big question. in terms of what we've seen in this showcase, especially with Ashley. Here we have, oh, it was from Drew, the thing about, but yeah, that it was a very solid, conclusion to draw. But yeah, Ashley. Makes me wonder if we'll have more scenes like that in the game, where you have a moment where maybe, for example, it's my imagination running wild here, right? But you might have a scene, say, earlier on, the early stages or the earlier stages of her infection, where she's kind of just like out of it. And, she's kind of lightheaded. She feels like she's not right and she's coming under the influence, but she shakes it off. And then as the story progresses and the infection progresses with it, these bouts become more and more frequent and more dangerous, to the point where it leads to the instance where she pulls a gun. My imagination fills in the gaps with these trailers. I have a very overactive imagination. Yeah, a bit scatterbrained, but those are my various takes on things. So yeah, moving on. Thank you.
All right, so I will try to do this for the story trailer. Salazar, I mean, people said he looked ugly, but I think that's the point of Plaga infected midget walking around with like half his face sagging off. He's not going to be the prettiest person in the choir, you know what I mean? So I didn't get that complaint on Twitter. I was like, yeah, he looks ugly. He's supposed to look nasty and disgusting looking. So when he decides to transform into that thing with the other Verdugo, he looks even more ugly. So it all makes sense to me. Luis, yeah, I'm not really sold. I hope still the Latin personality like shines through, because to me he just looks like the typical resident scumbag, and he looks like a drug dealer that you'll find in the neighborhood selling dope for like $2. Then there's Ashley pulling the gun on Leon. I think that this is supposed to be a moment of tension, because you see the Plaga sort of run down her eyes, the veins and stuff like that. So I would assume this could be high tension and that's it. But it makes me wonder, where did she get that gun? Like, where did that come from? Did she like disarm Leon or something, or did she find that? Like, I just need further context, because I think that was the point, for them to sort of sit there and tease what is she gonna do next with this thing, and I kind of want to see where that goes. The fact that Ada has a new voice, I don't know. I think people are saying they hate it, and it sucks they didn't get the voice actress back, Jolene, but it was only literally like 2 sentences, and it's not enough weight to it. I need to see how that whole interaction happens where Leon disarms her. I need to see how that scene goes. I need to hear more before I pass judgment and say I'm not a fan at all. But I will say, I mean, if you want to know what my favorite Ada is, that's the first one, Sally Cahill. I thought she was great, and as it went on further and further, they just tried to emulate that blueprint. And it has mixed results, but I'm willing to give it a listen and give her a chance. There's no problem. The 2 Verdugos, they are thick. I'm talking, they are shoulder thick. They're way huge now, and this, I guess that's gonna make it a lot more intimidating with the final battle that you have with the one in the sewer. The way that thing is gonna be moving and it's gonna be crazy. I cannot wait for that boss battle. Now the Forbidden Factory, I don't have much to say. Huge, you say? I knew that was gonna come up, but the Forbidden Factory, I have a feeling, yeah, their naming convention this is something they're doing, so we can finally get like where all the areas are located. Maybe there will be like a bigger grand map that you can look back and explore and go to like different areas. That'll make sense, because I think that'll be streamlining the game to a large degree, of saying, hey, this is this area, that area, this is the island, this is the final bit. If they change it to like a giant factory, I don't mind, just as long as it's interesting and they have a lot of stuff going on. I totally don't mind at all. And the same scenes like take place just under slightly different environment, so to speak. And Mendez is Mendez. He's super tall. He's ugly. His eye is like slanted a little bit, so I can't wait to shoot him and knock that out. And that's gonna be entertaining as fuck. And I truly can't wait. I don't know why he's wearing a hat now. I said that in the last podcast. Like, why are they putting hats on Mr. X and Mendez and every other enemy now in these remakes? Is kind of weird. I mean, Nemesis didn't have the hat. He's the only outlier, but still, everyone has hats now. You can shoot off. I'm gonna laugh so hard doing that. But yeah, I can't wait to shoot Mr. Hat and have him curse at me in Spanish. I think that's gonna be great. So we're gonna have a fun question here. It's a bonus question, and I'm gonna let Austin go first, but it's all about the merchant, the trading system, him being back. Austin, what do you think of the merchant finally returning?
I think the merchant finally returning it was gonna happen. Like, if they didn't have a merchant, the game would have been bad on release. But no, I'm glad they brought the merchant back. It seems like they kind of try to give him a little bit more personality. I love his new voice. I think his new voice makes him more of like this pirate type character. Like, it makes sense that it just makes sense that he sounds like a pirate, because it's roughly around like the Caribbean area of the world. And so he's like this collector, and being able to trade in stuff like jewels, giving you money and stuff. It gives you items and equipment. I think in the trailer it showed that you can trade something to get a laser sight for your handgun or something like that. And I was like, oh, that seems pretty interesting. And I just he also can repair your knife and even upgrade it, which seems logical. I think he definitely does. I think he definitely does bring a good sense of familiarity, while also giving another sense of being more connected to just upgrading paths. And probably the fact you probably can't kill him in this one. We haven't seen him in actual like gameplay founding. Like, oh, over here, stranger. And you find him, and you get to, oh, here's all my stuff. Thank you for buying this. All right, I'm just gonna shoot you and just walk away. He's like, oh, I'm dead. And then he comes back later. I don't think they're gonna do that. I think he's gonna be mostly like a cutscene at first, and then he's gonna be sort of like the Duke in Village, in the way that he just is stationary, go up to him, and just sell and buy shit. But yeah, I think the merchant is definitely being back is a well-cited respect that I have for Capcom. And I'm glad that they updated his design just a tiny bit. He's the same old merchant that we know, but he looks a little bit more flashier, and I like that.
Drew, it's your turn. What do you think about the merchant coming back? It's your turn. What do you think about the merchant coming back?
Stranger. I'm pretty excited about the merchant, and I'm hoping they give us a little bit more context of who he is, but also the mystery around him is kind of fun. So I don't know, but I like him being back. I don't know what else to say other than, what you need that for? Going hunting an elephant.
Okay.
I'm excited for the merchant to be back.
Okay, that's too brilliant. I like that.
Thank you.
Hollow Heart, what do you think of the merchant returning in RE4 Remake?
I'm super excited that the merchant's returning. The merchant has always been one of my, favorite little. I wouldn't call him a small character because he's huge in the fandom, but he's been one of my favorite little support characters, and I'd be interested, honestly, and I wouldn't be upset if there was a little bit more information given about him this time around. Especially considering the fact that the Duke gives off some kind of information that he kind of knows him, so I'd be a little bit more interested. But I'm not gonna go on my Duke tangent. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Next up is Brendan. What do you think of Stranger returning?
If he wasn't in the game, I will refund the game. I would hit 1 star for reviews and call the parents for not including the merchant. Because he's essential. But jokes aside though, I'm happy he's back. I do hope that the current actor can match the charisma of the wasn't Leon's voice actor the one that did the merchant?
Yes, it was Paul Mercier.
Yes. So I hope that he can at least match, if not exceed, his talent though, because like when the merchant gets excited though, like it brings out so much character from him. Especially when you try to get like a particular gun, he just goes down the list of what makes the gun so unique, so cool, whatever, with all the enthusiasm in the world. So I hope like that aspect of the merchant stays intact.
All right, next up is Deva. It is your turn. What do you think of the merchant returning?
Oh, well, I'm really happy that he is, but I'm more interested actually on. Okay, how about this? Remember in Resident Evil Village, the Duke mentions the merchant in some capacity? I wonder if he'll do the same thing, but for the Duke this time. So I'm really kind of curious on how they'll work that, little story tidbit in. I mean, I remember there was a point of emphasis that they made the Duke actually have a significant role within the actual storyline. Are they going to do that for the merchant, or is he just going to be like that? Okay, I mean, yeah, he's a cool side character, I mean, I remember from the chat, like if you could shoot him, I mean, if he is an important character for the story somewhat, then maybe we can't shoot him, because that'd be kind of weird that we killed off a pretty important character. Besides that, I mean, so far so good. I mean, and I really don't have any much more to say about that.
Okay, your turn.
I am super excited that he's back. The merchant is also one of my favorite aspects of RE4. So witty and funny. He just pops up in the strangest of places where you don't expect him to. Down in some of the tunnels, around the backside of one of the buildings, he just pops up and just says hi. And it's just, you never know when to expect him to just show up. I can almost bet if he wasn't going to be in this game, there would be an enormous riot out on the streets. He's not involved. So I'm so glad to see him back. I do enjoy the changes for him, along with the changes to the shop. I like that you can do upgrades for your knife, considering you can use it for parrying now. Upgrades for other weapons. I like that you can do trading. You can combine things to make other things. You can trade in gems you find while playing the game. Overall, I think it looks really well done. Makes me super excited to try the game, and I'm just overall glad to see him back because he is an amazing character.
Lanos, it is your turn.
I'm a little mixed. Like, I love that the merchant is back. I love that they actually had that kind of merchant where you can buy and sell things. It gave it a little bit less pressure on just trying to like conserve your ammo. But on the other end, I'm like, but if they didn't bring him back, it would be a lot more focus on you conserving your ammo. So that would make it a little bit scarier. But I do love him as a character, and he looks a lot more sinister. So like, if I was like seeing him for the first time, like, do I really want to buy something from you? What the hell? Especially like he opens up like the coat. It's like, what you buying? What you selling? And it's just like, okay. But it's really nice to see him back. And the others are right. People, let's be honest, they were already in uproar that he might be cut. I don't know why. I never would have foresaw him being cut. But they were already up in arms about it, so God knows if they actually did it, what would have happened. So it's nice to see him back. He's just like a nice familiar face that I don't trust ever.
Silver, it is your turn. Tell us what you think about the merchant being back.
You hear me? Sorry, had a bit of an audio issue there. Am I good?
You're good. You're good now.
Okay, no problem. Absolutely happy. There's I mean, how can you not be happy? The merchant is just a core part of the Resident Evil 4 experience. And there's just something deeply satisfying after you've traded off all your treasure and gear. And you're about to finish on the menu, and closes the trench coat, and he's like, "Come back anytime." And I'm just like, I will be coming back, and I will be locking and loading, and I will be getting a bigger shooty thing to shoot more things in a shooty way. So yeah, gotta love gotta love the merchant. Would honestly like to see if anything changes in the way, in terms of his inventory. That's obviously more of a thing about just his general mechanics as opposed to him being in the game. But I wonder if we're going to see changes to his inventory and that kind of thing. Anything going to be different? I mean, there obviously will be differences, but just it's all just thoughts that I'm throwing around. But yeah, genuinely happy to have him back. Wouldn't personally mind if I was in the middle of mutant infested Spain if the dude had maybe a can of Coke and a hot pocket in that trench coat. But hey, that's just my personal take, and I always have food on the brain. So yeah, digressing. But yeah, happy, good. Merchant must come back. Would have tried a merchant impression of my own to a reasonable capacity, but Drew Maru just blew it out the water there. So well played there. Absolutely well played, sir. Good.
Well, I'm going to mention how I feel about the merchant. So obviously, it's what everyone has said. My answer is not going to be too long, but I think he had to come back because, number one, very iconic part of RE4. If cut, people angry, so that would have definitely happened. And like Lano said, there definitely was an uproar about this occurring before we got that prior information. It was a lot of it. Like a lot of people were saying this is gonna be cut, that's gonna be cut. So I'm kind of glad that now it's sort of confirmed that the stuff that people were suspecting that was gone is there, or recontextualized in a new way. And I think that's great because once again, it all has to pan out at the end of the day to see how it works with the survival horror mechanics they're trying to implement in Resident Evil 4. There is a trading system. He gives you rare stuff for trading with him. I don't know what is going to be the extent of that, but I assume you get stuff. He trades stuff back, and then you get either rare drops or RNG. It's probably going to be just bartering at best, which, I mean, that's fine, because if I give him something that's crap, maybe he'll give me something that's crap back, which I'm going to be kind of mad at, but at the same time, it makes sense. They could do something more with the whole treasure system in the game as opposed to just getting something and selling it. Now, if you get something and sell it at high value, it makes it a little bit more simplistic in the process, which I can appreciate. So not much to say, really. I think he's gonna be funny. He's gonna have his little memes, and he's gonna have and before we get to merchants, that'd be funny. Maybe they should play up on the fact that yes, he does have the plaga. He had the red eye in the original, so in this one, what happens if you do shoot him? Maybe he'll mutate or something, or it's a warning or something like that. That would be shocking, just like shooting Del Lago in the water. I don't know if they're gonna go that route, but we'll see. Prices go up, I'm gonna be pissed, but hey, I shot him, so I suffer the consequences. Why not? That's about it. Cool to see him again. I clapped when I saw him in the trailer, and I thought that was pretty dope, to be honest. So we're gonna move on to the next question. This is actually a little diverging point, because Capcom mentioned this in previews. So someone did pop the question of saying, hey, after this game, are you guys going to do Code Veronica? And they had an answer for that. They said, currently it's not in the plans to remake Code Veronica, but they mentioned that if the opportunity knocked, or whatever that means, they would do it. So what do you guys think of that information? I'm going to start with Austin again.
There we go. So I saw the tweet. I saw when the social media on Twitter for Capcom said like, oh, we have no plans. My personal take on that is that they're well aware of the demand for a Code Veronica remake, but of course it is based on higher ups in the chain of command in the whole current aspects of Capcom. I think they're addressing this now. Just say, hey, we know what you guys want, and just please shut up. Like we're having enough time as it is, remaking like 3 games in the last like what 5 years, I believe it was 5 years. They've remade 3 games. They've put out DMC 5. They've put out Monster Hunter stuff, and they've had a huge expanse of just titles coming out. And Code Veronica being a title that a lot of people want to see remade because of its age, and that it's one of the lower received Resident Evils, even though it is one of my personal favorites because I just love that game to death. I do feel like that they just want to like stop having to answer the same question over and over again. So they had to put this official statement saying like, we understand you guys want this. There's no plans at the moment, which might suggest like it's in the running. It's like it's being circulated, but at the current moment, it is not our objective and priority at the moment. When the slightest opportunity arises, we will jump on it, and that's what I have the personal take on this. And if they had the given second, say, hey, do you want to do a Code Veronica? They'd be like, fuck yes, let's just do it now. Boom, pre-production, blah blah blah, done, satisfied. Okay, thank you. Now shut the fuck up. There you go. And that's how I feel about it. And yeah, that's generally what I got from that tweet and the central reception around it.
All right, so Drew, it's your turn.
Well, first I want to say thanks for whoever complimented my merchant. I didn't want to interrupt before, and I didn't want to not say thanks. But oh, what was the question again?
It was basically
the Code Veronica.
Yeah.
I think it's just basic marketing or PR talk. I mean, they're not gonna say we want to do it, or actually, they kind of said we want to when they said there's no plans, but you know we'd be interested, or however they worded it. I mean, that's basically saying we want to do it, and that's not necessarily saying we're not going to do it. I mean, they're not going to say we are going to do it. So it's just, I think, PR talk. But also, they have a plethora of Resident Evil games to remake. Potentially, they can remake 0. They can remake 1. They can remake 5 and 6. I mean, Code Veronica is just up there as well. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think these remakes have been pretty profitable. So why not remake them? And that's not including potential remakes of all the spin-offs that they could make proper, like games like the Dark Side Chronicles or Umbrella Chronicles. They could just make those bonus scenarios into full-fledged games if they really wanted to. I mean, I have no idea if they ever will, but that right there is just like, that would be cool to have. So, I don't know if they would call it like Resident Evil Operation Javier or Resident Evil, whatever the final chapter was in Umbrella Chronicles, but to have those as side games remade, just along with all the other spin-offs, would be awesome. And I'm curious if these remakes are considered a separate continuity or not, because they could just go because they could one day just say, you know what, we're going to treat these as the main, we have the main, what's not universe, I can't think of the word, the word I'm trying to think of. Basically, we have the main series and we have the reboot series. And I'm curious if they're going to do that, or if they're going to just merge them together and say, oh, this is just an alternate version. Like, this could be the canon, this remake. So there's a lot they could do. I would love to see a remake of Code Veronica. I think it's in the cards. Maybe not right now. I mean, it could be, but I think they're focusing on wrapping up 8 and probably going into 4. They're probably going to do DLC for that. But it's probably one of the things that they're going to think to do next, is my best guess. I think Resident Evil is one of their profitable franchises. I can't imagine they wouldn't. And like I said, they've got a whole bunch of Resident Evil games they could remake. Even the Revelations games. I mean, they could just go all ham on remaking everything for a whole reboot universe and say all the reboots are the only things canon to themselves. I have no idea. But in a nutshell, I think it's just PR talk, and they probably will get to it one day.
Hollow Heart, it is time to illustrate your opinion on this.
So my opinion is a little weighted. It totally comes 100% from being someone who is completely obsessed and immersed in Resident Evil lore. It is one of my hyperfixations. I will sit here all day long and read about it. But anyways, not to get off track. Code Veronica, I feel like they're going to do a remake of. I feel that it would be poor not to do a remake of it, especially if they are in a way trying to strengthen their continuity. There are some things in Code Veronica, like Code Veronica is a huge lore game, so there's a lot lore-wise that can be done to strengthen the continuity, to etc. Straight like kind of bring everything back together, because it really feels like you had the initial games, then you had 4 and everyone loved 4, and then you had 5 and 6, and 5 and 6 didn't do so well, and even story-wise they just aren't that great. But then you come into 7 and 8, and 7 and 8, they're back. They're writing the lore again. They're back into the story. They're throwing a whole bunch of, you go through that Miranda's entire laboratory in 8, and there's all of this huge backstory to all of it and everything else. So I really feel that if they are going to remake it, they need to be careful in remaking it, because there's a lot of lore to be had in Code Veronica, and there's a lot that could become messed up in messing with the lore and trying to strengthen that continuity. But at the same time, I would love to see a modernized version of Code Veronica, something that brushes up the lore just a little bit more, and is a great game that people can get into, because to me it was a great side-off game. Like, I would not consider Code Veronica to be in the grand continuity of 1 through 8, even though yes, it does exist in that continuity, but it's a side game when it comes to the games to me, and it tells a very good story, and it brings a lot of good information into the world of Resident Evil and the lore. So yeah, I think that they're just doing their whole, we're going to tell you guys that we're not doing it, just because we are tired of you guys asking. I would not be surprised if in the next 3 to 5 years, maybe more, we see a remake to Code Veronica come out. It's just kind of following the trend of what they're doing.
Okay, so we're gonna skip on to Mr. Brandon. What do you think about this?
I'm sorry, what's the question again?
Basically the directors, producers, they were talking openly about a Code Veronica remake, and they said it's not being developed right now, but if the opportunity knocks, maybe we'll do it.
Okay, I think Capcom is definitely saying that for PR talk though, but I think they're kind of bullshitting as well. I do believe they are going to remake Code Veronica. When, we don't know, because Capcom is legit busy with other projects, some not announced, and whatnot. So yeah, I'm in a believer of it will happen. Just you gotta be patient, because the next game is obviously going to be RE9. So if the team that's making this one is going to be busy with the next game potentially, right? Then now these guys are busy. So I wouldn't expect Code Veronica remake, not anytime soon per se though, but just be very patient. I'm a believer that it will happen, because they know the demand. The demand is there. They'd be stupid not to do it, to be honest with you, man, because that's still going to be another moneymaker. But that being said though, yeah, I hope it will come to light though, because that game is, in my opinion, both underrated and also kind of deserves a lot of the shit it gets. So like, it would be a remake would be a great way to restore the game's reputation.
Falcon, it's your turn.
Oh no.
I really don't have a lot to say about it because I've never played Code Veronica. So I can't really give an opinion on whether or not I think it should be remade, but I do think that if they do well on this remake, and considering they are still selling Resident Evil 2 Remake and making tons of money off that, I don't see why they wouldn't maybe in future remake a lot of the older ones, especially if they think they will get decent amount of money out of it. But I could see them maybe doing some of the more popular titles first, like 5, before Code Veronica. But other than that, I mean, if they're going to make money, they're going to do it. I mean, that's just the whole gist of it.
Lanos, it is your turn.
Okay, I'll voice it from another end. Code Veronica, for a lot of fans, is also just the stepchild that Capcom just does not acknowledge sometimes. And it's one of them, it wasn't well received. It has a core fan base, but these are business decisions. There's a reason why they went with 4 first. And they were already in uproar about that when they did 4 instead of Code Veronica. It's going to be constantly that way because Capcom right now is, they are about making money, and that is true. But also from a lore perspective, Code Veronica, for a lack of phrasing, fucks a lot of shit up. And so it's correcting a lot of it as well so that it can fit into the main canon that they're building with the remakes now. Code Veronica is going to need a lot more work, while the other ones won't need as much work. It's more refreshing the mechanics, making it more modern. Honestly, I feel like they're probably going to go with 1 or 5 next because they're the easiest to redo, and 1 is even easier because they've done it multiple times and people will still buy it. And they get to correct more of the lore with it, especially with everyone else. But yeah, it's really, I can go on and on about the issues that Code Veronica has, and so I can see why they would skip over that. It's not like they're going to ignore it forever, because there is enough of a fan base that will bully them into it eventually, or at least show that it's popular enough for them to remake it. But right now, it just has too many issues. And from a gameplay perspective, story perspective, there's just too much that have to change. And people are already uproar about changes being made to Resident Evil 4. Why would they touch Code Veronica? That's just messing with a ticking time bomb. So yeah, I can see why they said, we're going to acknowledge it, because it was like every other day, even on Twitter, it's like, why aren't you remaking Code Veronica? So they were going to say something eventually, just so, if anything, fans just shut the fuck up. That seems a little aggressive, but I see it every day and I'm a little tired of it now. So more likely they're just looking at the issues that they were trying to modernize from the previous ones. 2 didn't need to be fixed as much. 4, they were seeing things in hindsight because they're not rushed to do it. 3 still had issues regardless of hindsight. We all know this now. But yeah, I can see why they finally talked about it. It's been enough of being bothered about it. So that's at least my thoughts. And it's just easier lore-wise to go with 5, go with 6, go with 1. Start really streamlining it to 7 and 8 so they can just tie it all together. Then they can start messing with the side stories.
Next up is Silver.
Alrighty. I'm actually on a very similar page to Lanos here. Like, does Code Veronica need it? Does Code Veronica need it? Good God, yes, does it need it? Compared to some of the other games, especially now that we have remakes out there showing exactly what Capcom is capable of. And yeah, it's also shown that these remakes can really sell as well. Like RE2 Remake is a veritable fucking money printer at this point. It's sold more in 3 years than I think Resident Evil 5 did in close to double that space of time. So in the end, eventually at least. So yeah, but do I think it's gonna get it? Am I saying impossible? No. Let me be very, very clear on that before I get into controversial sort of territory. Am I saying it's an impossibility? No. Am I saying that seeing Code Veronica remade after they've addressed it like they have is very low down on the pecking order? Yes. Because they cannot sum it up better than the way Lanos did. I personally can't. It's a business decision. This is made by people in boardrooms before it then goes down to a creative division that makes these decisions. And it's just... Look, RE2 was going to be a money printer. RE4 is arguably going to be a flagship title that Capcom is putting everything onto, a lot of its hopes and a lot of its strongest resources onto from a business perspective. I'm talking purely business here. Code Veronica, I don't see getting that treatment, even though it does genuinely need it. So, I mean, that's my take. I personally have always been of the impression for the longest time, now that we've had 2 remake, we've had 3 remake, now we're getting a 4 remake, I genuinely think they are going to go back, do 1, then you've got the situation of 1, 2, 3, 4. You've got all those mainline ones and Capcom's biggest hitter in RE4 all out there that can then be played as a series of events, and then potentially look forward and think, okay, we have the more actiony end of these series to consider here. And then that way they can really sort of gauge what can be done. You've also got to keep in mind that RE5 and RE6 were... keep in mind, I'm not discrediting Code Veronica here by comparison. RE5 and RE6 were very different games where Capcom was moving into a different era in terms of its development and thought process. And by proxy, it also brought in a lot of different, more action-oriented fans. So I think they'll really consolidate their resources and carefully consider where they go after the core sort of games have been put out there. Does that mean Code Veronica's an impossibility? No. Do I think it's a very, very small chance? Yes. I'm also seeing Zero mentioned in the chat, and I think Zero is going to be a controversial. Just with what's been mentioned here, I think it would be it'd be a risky decision. It'd be a risky decision because that one already has its inherent weaknesses, but I don't want to get too far off topic. But yeah, that's my take. Summarize, very low chance, and I think they'll go and do other things first. So yeah, on to you, Ren. Sorry that took a minute.
No problem. I'm gonna go and then I'm gonna see if I can get Devil to go last. But my opinion on this is very simple. I think that obviously it's PR talk. They can't announce what they're working on currently because they don't want to ruin the surprise, and they also, want to acknowledge when they say maybe is not no to me. That's not no, it's not yes, it's maybe always means to me in PR talk that they're probably considering it right now, and once Remake 4 sells like millions, there's no way they're not going to do it. They already talked about ideas of this, so that means it could happen for Code Veronica Remake. They already said they would remake RE1, which means if they do that, then are they going to retroactively go back and do Zero? Like, it's so many layers of, if I'm going to do one thing, am I going to retroactively do the other, because it ties all in at the end of the day. When they do Code Veronica Remake, that means RE5, right? Because now we have the foundation for Wesker returning, and they could do that for the next game. So I think it's a lot of layers that could go into it. Obviously, a lot is business. RE5 did like super well, so I think there's no way they're not going to remake it. And the challenge would be, how are we going to get horror and co-op to blend into each other, be always scary, and then you have your partner down your back doing like kicks and flips and all that stuff. And it's like, that's a development hurdle they have to figure out. So how can they make it more intense and scary than it used to be? And I don't mind that. I if you can make it work and make the lore more expanded upon in this new reimagined timeline, then I'm all for them experimenting, because even Remake 2, that was a big experiment and it paid off. So my want and desire is really, are they going to also do this for the side games, and how is that sequel going to be for RE9? Because supposedly this is the Resident Evil game coming next that's going to be the longest in development for RE9. I've seen all the buzz. I would believe it, because it's going to take a while for that to come out. I can't wait though. What's on the horizon? I'm kind of petty. I wish we got like a small little glimpse into the future. But I know RE4 was gonna carry that torch. But maybe like next E3 or something they'll do that. So here's hoping to that. After like the dust is settled for RE4 and we got everything and we can see what they're doing next. I hope that comes into fruition. Maybe if not in RE4, continuing like a whole new game and setting up like things that were interconnected, then maybe Shadows of Rose, because that is coming out in the next few days. So that's about it for me on this question. I'm gonna let Deva go if he's still here. If not, we're gonna move on to the next one. So Deva.
Yeah, I mean, would probably, yeah, I think they will eventually, even though, yeah, the whole like PR talk, like, you know, no plans or anything. I mean, eventually they will have to, you know, just for continuity of the story and all that. Though, thinking about it, I mean, is it really important to remake Code Veronica right now? I mean, I would say, yeah, it's pretty important for, like, you know, just because we did 2, we did 3. You would think that, like, okay, they would do Code Veronica, since the actual in the timeline of the game only happens like a couple of months after RE2 and RE3. So not only that, I mean, if from a business standpoint, I could see why they would kind of hold off on that particular game, and I could see how they could probably do one remake next, even though there was already a remake of one, or just, you know. So, and then but besides that, I mean, in the end, they have the engine, they have the assets, and they have the money caches, whatever. They have enough resources to like allocate, even though if it could be just like a side project for now. They have the source material to work with, and they have the assets to build the actual game. So I wouldn't be surprised if they actually do, like, you know, have the game ready in the next couple of years, though.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the next question, and that is, it's a simple one, but we've seen it. So it's the contents of the RE4 Collector's Edition and Deluxe. We've seen they're including the classic soundtrack, some costumes, all these other bits and bobs, and the box and everything, the classic figurine with Leon again. What does everyone think of the Collector's Edition, the CE, and the Deluxe Edition? I'll start with Mr. Austin first.
All right. The Deluxe and Collector's Edition. Apparently the Collector's Edition is already sold out, which is hilarious, which I really find really funny. But no, I'm definitely getting the somebody who is kind of prominent in the Resident Evil community was like, God damn it. And then they showed a screenshot that PS4, PS5, Xbox Series S and X, and PC were completely sold out for the Collector's Edition, which I thought was hilarious. I'm definitely getting Deluxe Edition. I think the extra costumes is really nice, but getting the cool little attaché case skins and the charms are just a meme at this point. They're cute. but all in all, I think the deluxe edition is well worth it for the 4 alternate costumes for Leon. And I believe I think it showed that there's other alternate costumes for Ashley as well. I'm not sure. I have to look at it again. But I think that might be the case because they show a silhouette behind Leon that is not Leon. That's with some of the costumes. So I'm thinking that we're gonna have possibly the what you call it? We might have a classic Ashley costume. We might have probably Leon special one Ashley, or maybe even Night Ashley. Who knows? But there's potential for alternate costumes for Ashley as well, and maybe Ada. It'd be cool if they gave Ada either her red dress, a classic, or her is it it's not Separate Ways. That's her camping. The Assignment Ada costume where she's in her tactical gear. That one's really cool. I think that one's actually really good. But yeah, all in all, I'm getting deluxe edition no matter what. I'm going to pre-order the deluxe edition eventually here. But yeah, I say it's well worth it. And the collector's edition's cool, but it's sold out, so I can't really say much about that. So you do you. I'm getting deluxe.
All right, it is Drew's turn. Tell us what you think about this.
I'll buy it at a high price. No, I don't. I'm not sure I'm a physical gamer. I don't like digital only games. So I want the collector's edition, but if it's digital only, then I don't want the deluxe edition. So I don't know. I gotta look into it. I know God of War did the same thing where they had a deluxe edition, but it was digital only. So I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I'm not gonna buy this game twice. So I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might have to just look for the if it's digital only, I'll have to get the regular copy and buy the pre-order and deluxe stuff on eBay or something, which is also a high price. So that sucks. What's with this age of digital only? You'd think people would learn after the Nintendo eShop when it was going down. It's like, nope. So I guess I'll be going to eBay.
Hollow Heart, it is your turn.
This is going to be a really quick talk. So at the end of the day, when it comes down to this particular stuff, I don't care. I know that it's really cool for a lot of people out there, and I probably will end up buying one of them for the extra stuff just because I'm a nerd. But at the end of the day, I just it's really cool. It's great. I like what they're giving out, but I don't know. I'm more I want to play the game. I don't care about the extra stuff. I just want to play the game.
I mean, that's a fair assessment. Some people are gonna just want the game. Other people, I mean, let's be honest, collector's editions are for the super fans anyway. So that's just a given. But let me see. Next up on the list is Brendan. What do you feel about this?
The content's on the collector's edition, cool. Got a Leon statue, but the deluxe edition is gonna be where it's at though. Honestly, I don't necessarily care about the costumes right now, but I do hope like we get maybe some Ada costumes as well if she's gonna be a playable character, and some Ashley stuff, and maybe a little Louise, man. Cause come on, classic Louise. It was something like that. But I hope that's unlockable in the game rather than DLC, because that would be preferable. But that being said, though, the only thing I'm interested in really is the guns. I want to know how strong these guns are, because unlike the last game, Village, the starting gun you get, the pre-order guns, complete trash. In contrast to the games before that, which is RE2, and I'm remember about RE3. They have pretty good DLC guns for the start, So yeah, that's one thing I care about. It's just really the guns. Oh, and question though, isn't Leon's starting gun now called the Silver Ghost? They changed the name.
It's called something else, the SG something. It's like a bunch of letters now, but I mean, in my heart, I'm still gonna call it the Silver Ghost. That's what it is.
I mean, that could be abbreviation for Silver Ghost without calling it the Silver Ghost, So
Yeah, it could, but I just want all the details laid out there. That. But next up is Deva.
Well, I mean, I've been trying to get my hands on it, but even to this point, actually, at this moment, I've been trying to see if they would be in stock, but I don't think that would be like that would happen. But overall, I mean, like, yeah, I would love to get my hands on the collector's edition. I mean, like, I'm a super nerd. I mean, I rarely do try to get collector's editions, but obviously, since this is like a marquee title for within the franchise, and obviously a big fan of RE4. I mean, I want to get the collector's edition. Obviously, I want to see we already see like all the contests with it, like get the art book, figurine, collector's box, and all the extra DLC pack that comes along with it. So besides that, I have really not much to say. But I mean, if it's available, hey, I'll try to get it.
Tolkien, what do you think about this? Tolkien, what do you think about this?
So, I am a super fan of Resident Evil 4, and I always tell people, like, when the remake was coming back out, if it was going to have a collector's edition, it would be one of the rare collector's editions I would ever try to get. I've only gotten one collector's edition in my whole life, and it was for Elden Ring, and I don't regret it. That collector's edition was fantastic. I still have it. It's up in my office by my computer. And I was like, people were saying, oh, well, it might not be a Leon statue for the collector's edition. What if it's like Ada or Ashley? I was like, well, then I wouldn't get it. If it was Leon, I was like, I'm probably all in, but it sounds like it's really hard to get, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it. But I do think the deluxe edition looks really cool. I know a lot of people are not fans of the skins compared to the ones you can get in the original game, and I tend to agree. The ones in the original game were definitely better. The one of Leon with the hat, the swagger, like the old style one in the original was really good. And it overshadows all four of the ones you could be getting in the deluxe. But I do think they're really interesting to look at, the ideas behind them. Don't think they're the worst, but I don't think they're as good as the other ones. But I already pre-ordered the deluxe edition for PC, so I'll be getting those among other things. I'm just really excited to play through it numerous times using all the different costumes and all the new things you can get. So I'm really excited that they did this.
Lano, say it is your turn. Can you guys hear me?
No.
Discord just freaked out on me. I don't know what just happened.
Yeah, Discord is bugged out, but Lano, it's your turn.
Just bugged out. Wow. Okay.
That's because I'm taking over.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. So I can see why people want some of these, like the collector's edition. I know quite a few just that I know personally that will just love the Leon statue to begin with for reasons I probably don't want to know personally. But
yeah, Tolkien.
But it comes with like some other little nifty things. Like the map looks really cool. That's something I would probably hang on my wall because it actually looks really cool, and it's a nice little add-in, and it comes with a soundtrack, which is also very nice. Which I think is the original version soundtrack, if I remember correctly. The deluxe one, I probably will not use about 90% of it. But the one thing that did kind of strike me was the hero and villain filter. I thought that was really interesting. I'm like, well, hold on. Hey, that looks really interesting to add on. And it comes with the soundtrack. So that's kind of nice too, because I enjoyed the soundtrack. But I mean, personally, I'm not like the super fan that needs to buy all of the items. I will find them eventually anyways. Someone sells them somewhere, so if I want them, I can find them. But I don't tend to buy them myself. But they look nice, so anyone who gets them, more power to you.
Silver, it is your turn, buddy.
Ooh, Fury. absolute unmitigated motherfucking fury. Like, dudes. I wanted one. Keep in mind, this showcase was at like 11 p.m. my time. And they were like, oh yeah, this all goes live today. This is all available for pre-order today. I literally freaking stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning, which is not all that unusual, but I stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning when I had things to do today to try and freaking get hold of one of these collector's editions. They weren't listed on any websites, anywhere. Amazon didn't even have a listing for them. Nothing. Not a damn thing. The collector's edition, I mean. I wake up again at 7:30 to find out that they went live at about freaking 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 o'clock in the morning. Then sold out via way of finding this out through a stock checker. I just gone 4, and we're now all posted up on bloody eBay for about £400 to £500. So angry Silver is angry. I think the best thing I'm gonna be able to do now is get a normal standard edition, which I've already pre-ordered via way of the good overlords at Amazon, because I'm a physical only gamer. I'm a physical only gamer, so and that's just by choice. I like having the physical media, and I like also not having to wait to install an entire game to the drive, because despite having a reasonable internet package, dude, I can slip a disc in, and with the PS5's SSD, it installs at twice the speed of a freaking download. So yeah, that's just me. It's my preference, but all the stuff that's in it, the figurine especially, really wanted that. I mean, I'm one of those people that's not huge on collector's editions. I get a few, but not like a huge amount. This one I really wanted because RE4 is one of the big games of my gaming life personally, and just dudes, resellers selling them already, which is against eBay's terms of service, by the way, because you can't list things up for sale until 30 days before the product is legally due to sell. It bugs me. It bugs me so bad. No, I'm getting into a rant here. Angry Silver, wanted one, can't get one. I'm not going to give scalpers money. Can we all just agree, even the folks in chat, fuck scalpers? And I'll let Ren go.
All right, so yeah, fuck scalpers. That's hate scalpers ever since the PS5. So man, I hate that. I'm gonna talk about the collector's edition. So everything that I see here, I'm gonna start with deluxe first. I like it. Granted, still gotta wait and see how they have the in-game costumes, if the RPD costume is gonna come back or not, you know what I mean? Same for the Mafia outfit, because honestly, that was cool as fuck, and I need that to be an in-game costume when I unlock it. That being said, what's here, I mean, they look okay. It doesn't set the world ablaze to me. I honestly think that RE2 had better costumes in my opinion, but it's not so bad. The villain costume looks like V from Devil May Cry 5, and I'm just like, oh man, this is giving me V vibes. Like, what is this? Like, is he gonna read a book or something and just get a giant jaguar or panther to attack demons? I'm just expecting that. But overall, it's cool. You get the Sentinel from I think that was Leon's gun in Resident Evil Vendetta. You get some glasses. The original soundtrack is always nice, because you never know, maybe you'll like the remake music more, maybe you won't, so you can switch that on and off to your leisure, and I always enjoyed that mechanic sort of being there. Just you got to pay a little bit extra to get it, obviously. There's a matchlock gun, which is also cool. You get like a full treasure map. I think they say that you could get it in game. So I mean, I think I just might do that, but I'm still gonna get this version anyway. So I'll have a leg up in the competition, so to speak. And then there's the filters where you can switch from hero to villain. I never, like, just a little bit of a side tangent, I never been a fan of the filters except for the black and white one. I'm not sure how I was gonna go for this, but I usually do not select filters because I try picking the green one in RE5 and I'm like, oh, going back to normal. Back to normal it is. The collector's edition is pretty cool. So people will finally have that sort of box set collection where they could put RE3, RE2, and RE4 together and it'll look nice. Same for the statues with Village as well. So you get Chris, you get the 2 Leons, and then you get I forgot, you get Jill as well. So that's always cool to see people having that sort of I want to say affinity to getting stuff like this. Personally though, I know how it goes with CEs. I know the first thing that happens is when they go live, they all sell the fuck out and you just can't get another version. Then it turns super rare. So this is for people on the ball, on the money with this as soon as they humanly can get it, and then it's just gone. So I kind of just don't like the premise itself because it's like everyone should get their hands on it. It shouldn't be a scout central degree where it's like sold for thousands of dollars, but here we are. But I hope the people that do get it genuinely and enjoy it and the fans are nice. And as I said before, as everyone said, fuck the scalpers. The map is cool, everything's cool, the box is cool. I just like it, but it's a shame that people have to deal with this crap. So there you go. Oh, also the gold attaché cases as well. You get some extra sort of incentives there, which is always cool too. So I guess if people like that, tricking out charms on their guns, they can sort of see that in game. But that's my opinion on it. I think it's a great idea, just ruined by the sad economy of scalpers, pretty much. We're moving on to question number 9. Now, I'm going to be 100% honest before people answer, and I guess we'll gauge the chat and see if they have quick answers or not. They did show a Shadows of Rose final trailer, but unfortunately, due to RE4 and that cake, that mecha that came out, this got completely overshadowed. So in my honest opinion, I'm like, when they showed it at the showcase and it was like there, and I was like, okay, this is cool, this is great. RE4 came in and I'm like, oh man, this is what I've been waiting for. This is exactly what I've been waiting for. So that was my mindset. We'll see if people think differently, but Austin, what do you think of this final trailer if you saw it?
Oh, I definitely saw it. I was watching the whole showcase. Yeah, it kind of did get overshadowed. Funny enough, because RE4 Remake's entire showcase was just blew the thing fucking out of the water. It was just like everybody rejoiced. Honestly, the final trailer I thought was really cool. I like how they showed a little bit of gameplay. Honestly, not gonna lie, Rose's powers to like weaken an enemy so she can shoot them. I was like, dude, this is like Alan Wake but Resident Evil style. No lie. And I was like, that's cool. I love Alan Wake. And side note, super excited for Alan Wake 2. But yeah, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. They didn't really show much else. Like I felt the connection with Eve in the trailer was a little like I want to say it was suspected, because I suspect that the evil twin of Rose is probably her. And you know, like I said, the Shadows of Rose final trailer was good. I don't think it was bad anyway. Like, I'm going to play it. I'm going to beat the fuck out of it. But yeah, I think it's going to be a fun playthrough, and I'm excited. Not much really else to say there, I guess.
All right, so Drew, it is your turn, good sir.
Yeah, I liked what I saw. I'm really curious how it's going to play out, and if it's going to be more horror based than Village, or on the same par of horror based than Village as Village was, or if it might be less. I mean, I'm curious how it's going to compare to Village with Ethan's playthrough, but yeah, the evil twin thing. I mean, the first thing that came to mind was Natalia from Revelations, but I don't think there's a connection at all. I think that she has a connection to the, what is it, Megamycete, because she did have a connection to it. That's why she has powers. And the Megamycete has all these consciousnesses in them. So there has to be some kind of evil conscience in it. I mean, if anything, it could be Miranda herself trying to be reborn through Rose. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. But I'm excited, and I want to know why the Duke is all of a sudden evil. Like, was he allied with Ethan because he wanted to undermine the other lords and take over? Like, was he actually a true villain this whole time? Like, I'm really curious to see what's going on with the Duke and why he's an antagonist. And yeah, I know he was gonna be a lord and was cut, but I assumed when they cut him, they just made him a merchant and made him good. But I guess they're just playing along the lines of he was never good. They just had a common enemy sort of thing. So now he took over, and there's these like white looking molded enemies now. So I don't know if they are like the citizens of the village that turn into the lichens and the I forget what they called the vampire ones that the women turned into. But I'm wondering if it's just like them 15 years later. Like, did they dissolve into these Megamycete monsters or something, or are they completely new monsters created by the Megamycete using like with the Duke using them? Or I don't know. I'm just really curious how the lore is going to play out for Shadows of Rose, and I'm also curious if they're going to wind up branching the series into like present day and future, and so we'll get future titles with like characters that might be introduced in Shadows of Rose, but then we'll also get modern day games like Resident Evil 9, and so there's a lot of different ways they can go about this. Although they said Shadows of Rose was going to conclude Rose's story, I think, but that doesn't mean they can't introduce concepts 15 years down the line and then make spin-off games taking place in the future. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
All right, Hello Heart, it is your turn.
Okay, how much time do I have? Not much. Awesome. Let's do this. So Shadows of Rose, it was not overshadowed, Ren, at all. Now they devoted a much larger portion of RE4 to the showcase, but it was definitely not overshadowed. There is a lot that we got out of this and a lot that we see coming. So Shadows of Rose is going to end the Winter Saga completely. It's done. There's not going to be any more Rose stories after this. No more Ethan stories, no more anything. So I don't think they're going to introduce other characters. I think that this is purely going to be a Rose-based story where it is just Rose and she is fighting through her nightmares in the village. The Duke they removed from being a lord, but they did not remove him from the lore exactly completely. He is still a part of the lore, and they left him ambiguous because he is a character that they are still playing around with what they were going to do, at least like back when I first started doing my massive amounts of research on the Duke. So I'm very interested to see what they're going to do with the Duke this time around, or if maybe that's not even the Duke, like maybe it's the Megamycete taking on the form of the Duke. I mean, I'm also kind of pretty convinced that the Duke has Megamycete abilities, so because he obviously was one of the people that Miranda messed with, especially given the fact that we see in multiple different ways he does not move like a natural human would. There's a lot of like rolling forward, a lot of instances where he Heisenberg, for example, every single location in Heisenberg, it's theorized that he came through the pipes. So I'm just going to leave it on that. I'm super excited for Shadows of Rose. I'm so glad that we're going to get to see Rose grown up. I'm glad that we get to play as a character with powers. That's also super cool. I'm super excited for this. I cannot wait.
All right. So, Brandon, what is your opinion on this?
Okay, so as far as the Rose thing, admittedly though, I'm in the camp of yeah, it definitely got overshadowed because like most of the conversations were around Resident Evil 4, which makes sense considering it's the new thing that's coming out versus DLC. I'm be honest here, But that being said though, honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about this DLC. I mean, it could be fun, but I'm not digging the whole weird powers thing because yeah, I know Resident Evil is like weird, and that's literally putting it mildly as possible. It's weird, but this feels like another dimension of Resident Evil that I don't think it should be here though, right? But if it's good, it's good. If it's not, whatever. But I'm not really digging on the pseudo supernatural elements that got going on here. Even if it quote unquote makes sense in lore, things are Mega Mighty though. But it just feels like some type of dream sequence, like some Alice in Wonderland type stuff here. As far as the Duke is concerned, it is weird that he's now a villain potentially though. But like he always was planned to be one, but they scrapped it. So maybe they retreading that story concept because since now the big bad is gone, there's no one that can stop him from do whatever he wants.
I was just reading chat saying Chris is on an old vacation.
Yeah, he's old, but yeah, I mean, it's not Barry from doing stuff in Revelations too. Pushing helicopters, punching stuff like no tomorrow at age 64. I think.
I heard, just as a small side tangent, I heard people say they think that guy on the bench with the glasses and the hat is Chris. And I'm like, I swear, I better not, even just entertaining that, I better not be like so dumb that he just stands up, takes off the hat and glasses, and is like, hey, because I swear I'm gonna feel like so stupid if that's the case. But I don't think, I don't think it's him. Why do I see half nude Chris in the chat? Let's just move on to the next person. So,
Rindo, are we going to talk about Reverse though? Like,
well, it is getting early access, and I guess it's good that it's now crossplay, so I get to play it with you guys on PC or Xbox and all that other stuff. And they changed Chris's face too. No, actually, it's a different. It's a different skin. I just thought about that. Like it's in the game for RE7 Chris, but you can now play as RE8 Chris, which is weird.
Real Chris.
Yeah, which is weird. Hopefully the modders give him his RE7 costume with the face. I get that. But my expectations are not too high considering the fact that I've already played the beta and it is just as you would expect, Resident Evil PvP. So if you really don't care about that, you're probably not gonna like this game. I'm just letting people know before they play it. I guess I could pepper that in the question. So Deva, any opinions on this trailer and Reverse, if at all?
Well, with the trailer, I don't know. I'm very, very excited actually. Like, because I've been making a lot of content revolving around like the Megamycete, like Rose and her powers, how this correlates with the connections, like Mother Miranda, Eva, and all that. I mean, yes, it did get overshadowed by Resident Evil 4, and that's understandable. But from what we've learned from the trailer, I mean, yes, we saw that the Duke was, he's playing evil, but I don't think that's really the Duke. It could be something completely or somebody else. I don't know if anybody else noticed in the trailer. You guys remembered, actually, there were several things. There was one scene where Rose was looking at this like a grudge looking person. Some people saying that person could be Evelyn. I don't know if you guys remember that. That'd be pretty interesting and it wouldn't be really out of the realm that she would see Evelyn because her dad Ethan saw Evelyn in through his own little kind of different dream plane when he supposedly died, right? And then we have what do you call it? So we saw Evelyn. We saw like, you know, the kind of like, okay, Rose is gonna gain some type of powers, you know, the blue eyes and whatnot. And then where was I? Like there was, gosh, there was another thing that. Oh, there was a little scene where you guys remember, like there was like those Donna Beneviento dolls, right? But they were huge, right? I don't know if you guys noticed in the background, but it looked more like the place, the actual House Beneviento. Because so far we've been like shown like, oh yeah, we're gonna be playing Dimitrescu, you know, castle. Is there gonna be a part where we play an actual Donna's house in some capacity? I don't, you know, that'd be pretty cool. I mean, it would definitely like at least give like it'll give us like a big chunk of like the DLC. Like it'll give us like, all right, well, once we're done with the castle, I mean, at least we have another place to go through. Does that mean we're also going to go through Moreau's or the Heisenberg factory too? Like kind of like reliving some parts that Ethan went through and how Rose has to kind of like in a way follow her dad's footsteps and like how things progress, and then in the end, like, you know, she fights maybe Eva, you know, or Evelyn, or maybe Mother Miranda somehow. But besides that, overall, I mean, I'm really, really excited. I'm really in tune with the whole like neural network with the Megamycete, how you know, it takes in some of the information consciousness of like people who've died before. But you know, so yeah, I'm really excited. And hope I could get to play as soon as possible.
All right, so good Nick, it is your turn. Tell us all about how you feel about Shadows of Rose with this trailer, and reverse, if any opinions. Good Nick, Tolkien.
Yeah. Sorry, my mic likes to not work. So final trailer. I've been pretty much excited for this DLC since Village came out, and it was decided there was going to be a DLC for it. So I've been waiting. A lot of people have been waiting all this time for one. So it looks really good. I do think though that it was, for the most part, I do think more people were more excited for the Resident Evil 4 remake news for the showcase over the DLC, because it's been hyped for a long time, Resident Evil 4 Remake, but I do think that there was a lot packed into what we did see for Shadows of Rose. It did make me even more excited to play it, and it's kind of hard to believe that after all this time of waiting, it's here in a couple days. I'm so excited to get my hands on it and play it this weekend, or next weekend, I should say. Reverse, I don't really know. I have it, obviously. A lot of people do, because it was supposed to come out last year. I probably will play it, depending on if there are groups that want to play here in server. I probably will. I didn't get a chance to play whichever one the other one was that came out. Never did play that one, but I did see gameplay of it. It does look quite interesting. So I probably will give it a whirl. But yeah, I'm really excited for this DLC.
All right, so next up is Lanos.
Actually excited about Shadows of Rose. I know some people are ready for like they're like DLC, don't care. I like DLC, especially if it expands the lore and the world of the universe in which I'm playing. But other people just want it to be over because they're tired of the Winters. There's some people who just don't like them. They want to bookend it and be over and move back to the main core the Resident Evil cast, which I've seen them for like so many fucking games. It's nice to see a fresh face for a little bit. And Rose is another character. For the showcase itself, yeah, of course RE4 was going to be a main focus, because the fact is they've been drumming it up for a while, and Shadows of Rose is a DLC and it's going to be shorter. Plus, they probably, since it is a shorter thing, they're probably not trying to give away too much, so it's not going to be as big or expansive. But there was like I'm not going to try to repeat some of the details that some other trips said, because we've already gone over that, but there was some interesting things. Like, I think it's going to be more in the consciousness of the fungus itself. It is supposed to be more psychological horror, so it's supposed to lean more towards that, so that would make sense with the powers. And the fact is, it's fungus. We saw the Bakers. We saw Evelyn. The powers are not that far-fetched. It's really not. and the fact is it's a variety of gameplay. We played run and gun with Resident Evil for a really long time. A refreshing bit on the gameplay is different. And because if you want to get the same thing over and over again, I mean, they're trying different things. It's nice for them to experiment. But one of the other details I did notice was there was a name Michael written on the wall, and I was kind of curious to figure out who that is, because I know everyone was kind of focused on the shadow or the twin of Rose, and that could just be goddamn anything. But there's like little details I was noticing there. But overall, I think it was a nice showing for it, but it's also a DLC, so you can't show too much of it, or you kind of give out your whole DLC, especially if it's supposed to have surprises. And it's going to be nice to see that bookend as they move into RE9. Though I am sad to see them go, it is one of those things where it is nice to see that they will get into it, and we will actually get a little bit into Rose and just how it feels to be left behind by someone who spent so much time trying to make sure you're alive and chase after you, and that feeling of regret when you don't have them later. So I think it's going to be a lot more emotional in this DLC than it's letting on. And it was already laying it on pretty damn thick. And Reavers, I got mixed feelings. I played the beta. It's fun, but there's not a lot really to add. It's, as was said before, if you like multiplayer, Resident Evil going against each other in PvP, you'll like it. If not, there's not really too much to add to it. It's another multiplayer shooter.
All right, so as we sort of diverged in chat and talked about making love to burgers, I would like to say it is Silver's turn.
Sorry about that. I was literally distracted by the burger. I was not exaggerating when I said I'm hungry. Good God, it's late here. Yeah. I saw what okay, it was the Shadow of Rose stuff was totally overshadowed by Resident Evil 4. There's no doubt about that. But there are a few interesting things that I am forward to seeing in terms of that game. Like, I want to see more about how Rose's powers are going to work in practical application once I have the controller in my hand. I want to see a bit more of the feelings and the emotions, because, you know, her dad essentially made the ultimate sacrifice for her, and I do want to, you know, see more of the story and how all that pans out. For me, in some ways, is it a little bit surreal? Maybe a bit too surreal in some ways for Resident Evil. I mean, perhaps in terms of the way you're going about that, definitely sort of hovering into you know, man vibes in terms of it being so supernatural. I mean, the supernatural elements itself, if you get what I'm trying to say, it's typical Resident Evil fare, is it? So I'm interested to see where it goes. And also at the same time, I can't really give you the largest amount of depth on this one for me, because I've also tried to actively dodge as much coverage of this as possible, because my plan is to play this with my community, the DLC and the game in third person. So I've done everything I can to avoid looking into too much detail. So the bare minimum of what's been mentioned in chat is the basics of what I already knew, and yeah, say that's about it. Really, I'm looking forward to it. Gonna play it for a very long time, so it's gonna be good. And now I'm gonna go back to salivating over burgers like a very overweight individual at 3 a.m. that wants to eat half a freaking McDonald's.
Okay. I'm dying over here. Okay. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. I guess I'm going to treat this game like the patented Final Fantasy Evil, because I'm literally casting like spells with powers and switching to my gun, and Parasite Evil, since Square Enix is not doing a Parasite Eve and every other developer is reviving every other horror game, so hurry the fuck up, Square Enix. No, I'm kidding, but well, partially not kidding. I want that back, god damn it. But still, I really like how this DLC is shaping up. I do agree, though. My philosophy is they bookended RE4 and Dust when they showed all that. Crazily enough, it was just like, I am so entranced into this now, and I completely clocked out of the first trailer. But they had interesting elements, and I think the interviews actually made Shadows of Rose a lot more interesting, due to the fact that they said this was the last story of the Winters, and it's going to be 4 hours long, even longer than the original Not a Hero DLC for RE6. I mean, not RE6, RE7, my bad. But still, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like they're putting a lot more effort into making sure that this is the capstone for Rose's story. So I can't wait. I want to see what they do, but I'm kind of skeptical, because it is like Brandon said, I hope they don't get too ridiculous with the supernatural elements. And if they do, that's just gonna be insane, in my opinion, as my dog wants burgers too. So I really hope that it's all balanced out, it all makes sense, and that they give us a glimpse into the storyline in the future with all of the Resident Evil characters. Maybe just seeing some of them. Like, don't give it too much away, but I want to see what position they are in right now, considering that this is like 2023 or 2034. It's super in the timeline. I just trying to collect myself because I'm so hungry, but it's super in the timeline, and I want to see how old everyone has gotten so far and what they could give me. And I can't wait for that. I want to see Pet the Pup. I'll pet the pup later, but yeah, it has a lot of implications, but I'm not gonna take too long. I just really want to play it as soon as possible. Reverse is cool. Hound Wolf is in. Drones are in. Like I said, if you played every multiplayer shooter out there, PvP, you've played them all for this one, so it's nothing really too exciting, but it is fun. It's a fun game when you really get into it, and I will be trying that early access, as well as the fact that it has crossplay, and I think that's great, because now I can play with everybody, as opposed to the game being locked to one platform and dying immediately, and that's not good when developers do that. So at least Capcom decided to put some emphasis in this, because I feel if they did any other method, this game would have been DOA immediately. So let's move on to the last question, which is, they also dropped the demo for Resident Evil Village Gold Edition, and they said, hey, we're gonna put in the third person mode. You're locked again to about 60 minutes, so you have limited time. We're gonna start with Austin. Did you play the demo at all, and if so, what do you think about third person?
I actually did not get the chance to play it. However, I already know how it's like. I honestly think I would prefer it over the original, just based because the animations just look a lot cooler in third person. I'm not saying the first person vibe was bad or anything. I love Village. I love the first person shooter aspect of it. But I think the third person aspect of it shows just a lot more. It's a lot more funny. Funny is a word would be, is that it's a little bit more presentive, a lot more presentive to show. I definitely would do a playthrough of that at some point on like Village of Shadows or some shit. But I like how they reworked some animations for it, and honestly, it's personally, my personal opinion, I think it'd be a better way to play it is in third person, because of how much more effort they put into it to make it be more unique than the first person. So yeah, I honestly would enjoy it a lot, and I hope everybody shares that same sentiment.
Drew, have you played the demo?
I have not. I just assumed that when it came out, I would probably play around with it. Because I'll probably get it. And what I think is they should just do that for Resident Evil 7. I mean, why not? Which I mentioned before. I think that Resident Evil is a third person series, and so to have something in first person, 7 still worked and it was great, but I feel like it should have a third person option. So yeah, that's my thoughts.
Mr. Brandon, your turn.
Well, I'm actually gonna make somebody mad here though, but I'm not liking the third person mode. Actually, it's clunky. I don't know how animations are because the way like how the camera system works, it feels like pretty choppy. Now, especially the area they have it set in though, it feels kind of awkward to navigate in third person because the game itself wasn't meant to be in third person in the first place. So something to consider as well, right? But maybe when I play the full game, maybe I'll get just to it by then though. But personally, not a fan of it though. I'm glad the option is there though if people want it though. But the game itself was meant to be in first person, so I'm gonna continue to experience it as their the initial playthrough in first person. Doesn't feel right.
Tolkien, what about you?
So I have not played it yet. I had planned on just waiting until it fully came out before I tried it. But even without playing it, I almost have the same thought process Brandon does. It was a game designed for first person. I liked it that way. I get a lot of people liked it, the thought of it better in third, considering all the other games were in third. Yeah, I was losing my train of thought. Food. I get that sentiment. Everybody wants it still in third, but I did really enjoy 7 in first person. I think it was really a good idea to change it that way. I'm glad they stuck with that in 8. I am glad it is there for people that do want it. I will give it a shot myself, but I do think it does look better in first. But I guess we will see.
Lanos, how about you? Have you played this amazing third-person burger experience?
Oh God, stop mentioning burgers. I'm so hungry. Yes, I actually have. I have mixed feelings about it. As is mentioned before, it wasn't a game designed for third person, and I didn't find it as clunky. But I'm also not of the same vein that like all Resident Evil games have to be third person. They obviously built it around being first person, so you can kind of feel that. But as I played more of it, and I played it a couple times just to kind of get a general feel for it, it started feeling more and more natural. It's just there's certain aspects of like targeted aiming that doesn't feel right when it comes to it. And that's always been kind of an issue when it comes to like third person. But it wasn't bad. It was really pretty. I do love the fact that I kept trying to look at Ethan's face and he would just look away like a very shy person. It's like, don't look at me. But overall, it felt nice over time. But it's obviously, you can tell it's a game that they push back to say, hey, you got a third person now. And I think a lot of it was people want to be able to see what the character looks like, and some people feel like they needed more of that. They want to be able to see his face. They want to be able to see who he is. But I think the part of it is Ethan, the reason why he's so quiet, and part of his verbiage is he's supposed to be more of an avatar for the player more than any other Resident Evil game. As for the lack of personality in 7. But I mean, overall, it felt nice over time. It's just like it takes getting used to, especially for Resident Evil 8, where I'm used to being able to like see all around and just looking snap really quickly, and now I have to look around a third person character model again, and it's getting used to it. But yeah, I've already done like a recording of it and everything, so I'm just really kind of I'm curious to see what the full game would be like. But it's definitely, these games were not designed to be first person. And it feels like, from what I played it as it got a little bit nicer, but it also felt less scarier as a game. Because the third person kind of took me out of it.
All right, I will skip myself because I'm supposed to be doing a recording on this like later on and trying it out myself along with playing Silent Hill 2. So when I get my hands on it, I'll tell people how I feel about it, but I have not currently played it. It's cool. It's definitely cool that it's awesome and it's an option and it's there for people, but I have not touched it, so I can't really say anything about the third person mode yet. Silver, how about you? What is your thoughts on it?
Somebody say food? Oh, God. Before I go into my thoughts, it's okay for y'all over there talking about burgers. If I cook and eat something at 3 a.m., my stomach acid's gonna kill me. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. But anyway, as I was saying, right. I haven't played the demo. Because conscious decision on my front, right? Thank you, folks. Yeah, anyway, conscious decision. Because I like I was probably mentioning a minute ago, I've had this penciled in with my stream community and 2 of my mods to play in third person when it comes out. We've actually got a day set aside for it. We're gonna do the whole game like in third person, and then we're going to do Shadows of Rose DLC after that, because then you've got like the playing both in third person and having the continuity of both in third. So I haven't really played it. It's just a personal choice. So as far as the third person goes in general, I was genuinely happy. I like the fact that this has had a third person option. I've been looking forward to it. I'm happy to do it. I feel like, as was said earlier, Resident Evil is very much a third-person series, and I'm going to also agree with Drew Morrow. 7 needs the same treatment now. Otherwise, you're going to have this weird issue in terms of gameplay continuity, where, oh my god, more burgers. I am going to destroy you all. Anyway, yeah, you can have this weird issue with continuity where, 7 is the only one in first person, and then everything else has a third person option. So, yeah, I would like to see that brought to 7. Will they do it? I mean, we can't say one way or the other, can we? We really can't say one way or the other, but I'd like it. Happy to see the third person come for 8, and haven't played the demo, but will be playing it all the way through. So it's a moot point for me. Given that this is a game that's already come out, I'm not too bothered about the fact that there's a demo for it. I'll play it when I play it, and I've got the time. So yes, good. We're good. Continue.
All right, so that was the final question, and we're gonna do sign-offs, you know what I mean? So I will definitely put Hollow Hearts and Deva's information in the video, so they had to drop out early, but you can find them there when you refer back to the intro. We're gonna do outros now, so AK Austin, where can we find you, buddy, on social media?
Yo, I'm AK Austin. You can find me on Twitter under AK Austin. Same handle as here, and you can find me on Twitch because I have been streaming on Twitch quite a bit now lately, and you can under the same username as AKAustin_01. And this was a fun podcast.
Next up is Drew. Where can we find you, buddy?
Well, I'm assuming there'll be links in the description. You can find me at DrewMaru_comics on Twitter, and I believe on Instagram, and I think on YouTube I'm Diamond Death. Yeah, I guess just links in the description. And I also just announced a new project with some comic creators in the industry, new comic, so that's on my Twitter as well, so check that out.
Like I am Wesker, I need no outroduction. Is he gonna do the voice?
What?
I was
you want me to do the voice?
Yes.
I don't need any introduction. I am Albert Wesker, and nobody seemed to ask my thoughts on Resident Evil 4. I'll be the greatest character in that game. Leon has no idea what he's in for. I've ordered Ada to go and get me the pluggers, and if she fails me, well then, I'll just have to create my own virus, the Ouroboros, and it will be released into the atmosphere, ensuring complete global saturation. This is Wesker signing off. Good day, fools.
I was gonna ask a question if he ever asked Ada for overtime, but you know what? We're gonna skip right on past that.
Overtime? I'm just getting started.
We're gonna skip right on past that to talking. Can you do your outro, please?
I'm dying. It was so good. But
Don't
anyway.
die yet. I still need some guinea pigs.
This is great.
I am on YouTube under Lady Tolkien, and I also have a Twitter, which is Lady Tolkien7.
All right. So Brandon, where can we find you, buddy?
Yeah, skip me on purpose, you bomb ass. Okay, so you can find me on Twitter at Paragon Operative.
No.
You can find me on Twitter at Moto Brando. I have a link tree somewhere. I think it's in my bio. I don't remember. Yeah, I forgot to put it there again. Everywhere else is done. You got them business. Ada and Ashley and RE4 are hot. What face smash? The end.
Okay, we got that out of the way. Next up is Lanos. Where can we find you, buddy?
Sorry, still getting over that. You can find me on Twitch at Lanosmeyer. You can find me on YouTube at Lanosmeyer. You can find me on most social media under the same name, and you can also find me on Spotify as well under the same name. It's kind of like a whole group thing. And right now, just currently finishing up Outlast and moving on to Resident Evil. So if you want to see more of that, check me out.
Silver, buddy, where can we find you?
Alrighty, you can find me on both YouTube and Twitter at the Silver Gaming Network. We are currently preparing to start, as I was saying a minute ago, the RE8 third-person stuff. That's going to be next week, and also Shadows of Prose. So just mopping up some Resident Evil 4 stuff first, where I'm constantly on a mission to have Ashley sat on my face at all times. It's a personal thing. But yeah, thanks for having me. It's been fun. I'm terrible, I know.
All right, I don't know how I respond to that, so I'm just gonna simply go to the outro for me. You can find me on Twitter at RentOperative_. You can find me on YouTube at Renegade Operative. I currently have put up our reaction to the whole Silent Hill transmission, so if you want to see that, there's that on the channel. I will be putting this up as soon as I can, as well as our reaction to the entire conference of the RE showcase. It was fun. It was a good time. Go check it out. Other projects, I don't know. I'm thinking about writing some stuff, but I haven't really got that off the ground. I have been thinking of playing Reverse with people. We will see how that goes, assuming the server's not buggy on day one, because I have a feeling it's going to be, but dear God, please no. Please don't do that to me, but we'll see. And we have the Merchant to outro the show and sort of give his thoughts. So, Merchant, you could rise to the occasion. Oh no, he's silent, so I guess he went back to...
Which merchant are you talking about?
Not you.
Talking about the other guy that's muted.
That was a good one. But, stranger, if you want to know my thoughts, it's gonna be good. Don't forget to go hunting them ganados, but don't shoot me. See ya in Resident Evil 4.
I'll be sure to shoot the Merchant in the back of the head then. All right, so we're gonna end this podcast, and that was entertaining from all sides. So I appreciate everyone coming out, and have a good night.
Whoa, stranger. What you doing with that weapon of yours? You can tune it up in my place. I have the right tools for you.
You need that for going hunting an elephant.
Oh my God.
I'm scared now.
I'll buy
I'm
it at a
fucking scared.
high price, you know.
I'll buy it at a high price.
Oh my god.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is real, huh?
I want this as a video. One merchant trying to sell to another merchant.
Yes, I need this.
I'll sell you at a high price.
Yes.
Buy in.
That's
Not enough money.
video.
I'm just like, oh god, just stop.
What are you buying? What are you selling? Ooh, that's a good price you got there. Thank you, everybody, for
Cash,
coming.
stranger. Got
Not
some
enough
rare
cash, stranger.
Got some rare things on sale, stranger.
I'll buy it at a high price.
Stranger. Now that's
a weapon.
My God.
Hey,
not
only will you need cash, but you'll need guts to buy that weapon.
Now, merchants, I don't want to burst your bubble, but if you keep dick measuring, we're gonna need a large dick measure.
Hey, you gotta admit, both of those are pretty good.
You just like, I just like at this vision, they're both trying to sell to each other, and then just Leon just comes up and shoots both of them.
It's like when someone calls two different fast food places and puts the phones next to each other.
I've been doing the merchant voice for a long time too, which is funny.
I
just stranger. Now that's a weapon.
I need
not enough cash, stranger.
I need this.
Not enough cash, stranger.
Are you saying Lanos?
I said I need this in my life. I may have to design this video now. This might be a content creation thing I have to work on.
What about
Hey, I'm on board because this was fucking
Wesker's
great.
better.
Wesker as the merchant?
Solid.
What are you buying?
No, I'm going into the merchant.
Wesker's the merchant is fucking.
God.
What
is cursed.
Buying? What are you
What
selling?
are you buying?
Not enough cash, stranger.
It's a cacophony of motions.
Wise choice, mate. This ammo will penetrate just about anything.
Oh,
This is
Minutes. 7 minutes is all I can spare to make you buy.
7 minutes. $7. $7 is all I can spare to buy that.
yes.
Great. That's great.
Oh my god.
Oh,
It was like a cacophony of like merchants for a second there.
Buy that weapon.
What are you buying, Wesker?
I'll buy it at a high price.
Oh, I know you'll buy it at a high price.
I'm just expecting. I just need an egg float now, and I'm done for the night.
You're welcome, stranger. Now that's a weapon you got
We
there.
last met at the Spencer estate.
Lanos, please.
You guys need to stop.
no, keep going.
Lanos, please send that.
Spencer, I remember he was a good customer.
The merchant off, please send that to me because I cut my recording like when they started.
I will. I'm still recording, so I will send that over to you. I won't cut a section off to send over to you.
Honestly, I could do this for an hour still.
send my right hand off.
Oh my God, I need this in my life.
Well, like we can make this a whole thing.
Your
This-
hand. Your
yeah,
hand
I'll send it over
comes
to you as
off.
soon as I can.
Your
Ren.
right hand comes off.
Okay, thank you. Well, I can't stay long because I have a date with Burger.
Somebody has a date with burgers.
Stranger, you still need to buy a weapon.
Bro.
Come on, stranger.
I need to get food, and I have to go. I have to actually go shoot something. So.
Stranger, have you met my brother, the other merchant?
Stranger.
Quite remarkable.
Thanks, my brother, stranger.
Oh God.
Stranger. Got some rare things on sale for you, stranger.
Stranger, I've got some rare things on sale too.
Now that's a weapon.
Okay.
Now that's a katana you have there.
How are we getting on katanas now?
I'm
gonna head out now.
Glow.
Night.
See you later,
Bye.